And good evening to you, everybody here across the Sunshine State, and welcome to the first edition of the Blitz. I am Josh Wilson, and joining me here on the other side of the camera and the other side of the room is Marty Pallman. And good evening to you, sir. And we're here live. We're doing this for the first time ever, but
new show, right?
We've been talking about this for a while, but here we go, and we are live. And guys, everything, I'm just kind of adjusting my things here with the cameras here a little bit, but we're working on it. Virtual background green screens here, so that's what we're running here, but everything. But Marty, first things first up on the thing, with everything that's happened here around the Sunshine State, we just went through a hurricane. Hurricane Idalia came through and, kind of try to put a little damper on our high school football spirit here in the Sunshine State. For probably like a small slice of the state, most of the state did end up having football last week. But, let's talk about that first here because, it really did have an impact on the Big Bend area. So, that really made it hard on some people.
Yeah, if it's high school football season, I guess it's time for a hurricane. It seems like I can't remember the last year we've had without one, really. Of course, last year we dealt with two of them, one in September and then one again later in October. So it's become kind of a normal thing lately. Of course, we had 2020, we had the COVID year, and that year we didn't have storms. We were talking about this yesterday. But the season started 3 weeks later than normal because teams played less games. The season almost did start practice in August. But yeah, it is, something that there were a lot of games played last week. Like you said, the Big Bend is the major exception, although there were some games in the Gainesville area that weren't played as well. Up towards Union County, Columbia, Lake City was a game that was postponed, will not be made up. And then, of course, there were also some games in the Northeast Florida area that were postponed. Baker County, Oakleaf, which won't be made up as well. Bradford Baldwin game was moved to Saturday. They play that game Saturday. And then really, other than that, I think there was most of the teams in North Central Florida played. But you're right, it's going to be a problem for a long time. For Taylor County, who knows when or if they get back into school even at this point. If they have a football season, they were worried about getting to school, I'm sure. And then Madison County, we saw they haven't even played a game yet. They had their first week game was postponed.
Yeah, postponed. Against Carrollwood Day, and that was a 14-0 hanging Chad maybe.
Hanging Chad
decision or something like that, and won the way. But and that's the thing, but the good news for Madison County, though, is that they are going to play this week. They are going to play Fitzgerald, Georgia. They're going to play at the Border War game up there at Glenn County Stadium in Brunswick.
Right.
They're looking for some sense of normalcy out there in Madison.
But, who knows when their stadium will be ready, because as we saw, we'll look at some pictures of this coming up, but the stadium took some damage. The scoreboard especially was the problem in Madison. The Boot Hill scoreboard basically was torn up.
I know, and that's some things here, and let me see if I can't get it up here in a moment here, and I'll bring up some of the photos here and pull up here on the thing. But Marty, I know that also impacted you in a way with the storm because Bishop Kenny was supposed to go to Middleburg. By the way, let me make sure that I enter Marty here. Marty is also the voice of Bishop Kenny football on 92.5 FM and in Jacksonville.
Thanks.
That's part of the 1010XL brand there. And Marty, again, it impacted you here in terms of what we were, everything, and then, in terms of your game, because Bishop Kenny was supposed to take the little 30-minute drive down to Middleburg and play the Broncos, and that didn't happen.
School you know well, your alma mater.
My alma mater, full disclosure.
A school I know well is an Orange Park grad. We Middleburg pretty well, but yeah, it was I honestly don't know why they didn't play that game, but. From my understanding, of course, this is from the Bishop Kenny side, the athletic department I talked to, and the coach, and everyone said that Middleburg just didn't want to play last week. I don't know if that's true, but honestly, I don't know why they didn't play on Friday. That it kind of hit me a little bit weird because the storm really didn't affect Middleburg at all. It didn't affect. In fact, it really didn't affect the Jacksonville area.
No, it didn't, and that's the thing. And
it missed it completely. It almost missed Gainesville completely.
Right, and I mean, minus like some of the rain and some of the winds. It really didn't impact. And that's the thing here and everything and all that. So
yeah, full disclosure, I say that because we're in Gainesville. I mean, honestly, we're doing this show statewide, but that's why I'm saying Gainesville, Jacksonville. That's the area we were in during Idalia, and we talked to got to talk to some other people who maybe got affected by it. Because originally that storm, everyone thought it was going to be Tampa. Tampa was kind of ground zero. And then it was going to be Crystal River, which Crystal River and Cedar Key still got hammered. A lot of flooding. But it ended up being, you're right, literally the corner, the Big Bend that took the brunt of the damage up from Steinhatchee, where the storm came on land up to Perry, went up through Madison, went up through Valdosta, and then out to the ocean through Georgia, back out the Atlantic Ocean. So, but it really didn't affect, and the east side of the storm really wasn't that bad where we were here. And it kind of missed Northeast Florida.
No,
so
absolutely.
We were very fortunate there.
We're fortunate in that situation.
We are.
Because we'll talk about the bigger. The track had the track gone maybe a sway of 25 miles south, we would have been in a different story here. Not only impacting like places at Cedar Key, but also Gainesville, also in terms of going right up by 301 to Jacksonville. I think it would have been a different story. Maybe and I say this. The town of Perry might not have been hit as hard, and that's the biggest impact right there. Is Taylor County,
Perry, yeah.
And right now, Taylor County, they don't. I mean,
Live Oak took a big hit.
So you look at it: Taylor County, Lafayette County, Suwannee County. Those were probably the three biggest counties. Madison. Those are the four biggest counties that took a hit. Dixie took a smaller hit, but they still impacted their game with Trenton. So that impacted them right there.
Well, Cross City's only like 20 miles from Steinhatchee, so where the storm came on shore, it wasn't far to Cross City. But yeah, that's true. And but all the games were probably the least important thing. They usually are. Some of those games, like I think Dixie and Trenton, is going to be made up. I don't know if they. I think they
did say like September 18th. I want to
say. That game's going to be made up. Actually, there's a game. There is a game tonight in Duval County. It's Reball and Atlantic Coast, Northeast Florida. That game was moved to tonight.
And actually, we've got two games going on right now in the state. So we have a makeup from week one, which is between Space Coast and Lake Howell going on, and then we have Reball versus
Atlantic Coast
going on. We'll talk about that here in a moment as well. But when we talk about hurricanes, when we look at hurricanes, I mean, it's inevitable that we get impacted here in Florida. When was the last time we went through an entire football season without having a hurricane?
I think it was the COVID year, but that year was already messed up because we started like the middle of September. There was only like 8. Most teams played 8 games that year, or 7 in the regular season. So I don't believe we had any hurricanes that year, but it definitely was a COVID year. And then, of course, you think back to 2017 with Irma. I believe 2018 was also impacted. I think it was Dorian that year. It didn't really hit Florida, but it did. It kind of canceled and postponed some games on the East Coast because it was kind of heading up the Atlantic Coast. So, yeah, I think we've kind of been affected almost every year by this recently. And it's kind of the way things go. We have active times of hurricanes in Florida, and then sometimes we go 10 years without one, which is what happened before Irma hit in 2017. Or Matthew, sorry. Before Matthew hit in 2016, I believe, it had been about 10 years since a hurricane had hit Florida.
I know, and that's right there, and that's the thing. And then, of course, when I think about, Irma back in 2017, the state didn't play mostly for 2 weeks. Most of the majority of the state, at least we had 1 week, but I know a lot of the state didn't play for 2 weeks straight. It was kind of weird because I was doing like a scoreboard show that year, and I missed 2 weeks of it because there was nothing going on.
Irma, if you remember, Irma was so big, it basically affected the entire state. It was the size of the state of Florida. So almost everyone got some sort of impact from Irma, whereas Idalia, this hurricane was, a little more compact.
Compact.
Irma was just huge. I mean, it literally came up the state. I mean, it came up from Fort Myers and Naples up through Tampa, and it came through this area still as a Category 1. So, I mean, you're talking about everyone was affected by that. Also, that was an interesting time. You're right. We had at least 2 weeks off. And it was kind of weird because then you're like thinking, well, when are we ever going to play football again? But the good news this year is they've been able to, so far, mitigate this. I think, like you said, we're going to be back to normal this week now. Of course, it's still the beginning of September, so we're going to have to watch this for a couple months still because there's more storms out there. And I knock on wood that it doesn't happen again, of course. But this is what we deal with living in this state. This is the one thing we have to, excuse me, worry about are the hurricanes.
No,
Not the
absolutely.
Miami Hurricanes.
No, not that thing. And we got some comments here talking about this particular here with this, and of course Raymond Q. I believe that is one of the coaches out there at Hawthorne. No practice, no practice, no practice, and he's right.
That's true.
Been no practice for a lot of teams,
yeah.
Especially it makes it harder.
Right.
For teams out there, especially Madison County, they figuring out how to practice. I think a little bit, but like Taylor County, there's no way they're going to be able to practice. I mean, Lafayette. I know Lafayette said they didn't have as much damage to the field. I did see that, but the thing is that it's the electricity part that's been the problem there because at one point after the storm came through last week, it was 99% power with no power Taylor County, 99% in Lafayette, 99% in Suwannee. So I mean, I think it was like almost 90% in Madison County. Columbia County was like 56%. And, Columbia County, they said they from my understanding is that they got back on the fields today to practice. So, they are, Fort White and Columbia are intending to play their games this week. So that's good news there in that part.
Yeah. Fort White was supposed to play. Was it Taylor County last week? Was that the game?
No, Lafayette was supposed to play Taylor County.
Lafayette. It was Fort White. Their game
Jefferson County.
Jefferson.
That was another area that did get impacted a little bit, but not as much, not as bad as what Madison and Taylor County's got.
Just east of Tallahassee and Jefferson County. Yeah, that's true. And then, as you said, Fort White. And then last week, Columbia was supposed to play Union County. They decided early in the week to put that game off. I mean, it's not a district game. Those two teams played last year for the first time, and Union County won, so they're not going to play that game between Union County and Columbia. But yeah, it's the good news too is these teams, as you say, Madison County is going to be able to go up to Brunswick and play in the Border Wars, so that's good. Finally, they can get a game under their belt. Going to be some interesting games there this week in that Border War. One of them involves actually a team that we were going to talk about later, but Bowles is 0-2. Yeah, they're going to play Coffee who's 2-0, so they might be 0-3.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that here a little bit later. But
one of the games.
It really is, and I mean, when we're talking about hurricanes, I mean, and I think some people are on edge right now in terms of Tropical Storm Lee just formed out in the Atlantic today, and there's been the forecasts are kind of this like they're not sure what's going on there, but it's kind of
keep an eye on it. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And to bring up Frank Allen, Live Oak, Madison, and Mayo got a bunch of damage, which they did. And, that's the thing. And if I can I'm going to pull it up here in a moment here, try to work on that, getting it, and I'll share it on the screen here with y'all is some of these photos that we've seen. It's really been interesting and everything. And it's, again, I say my heartfelt sympathies and everything to like Taylor County, Madison County, Lafayette County, Suwannee County, those places. I mean, it's hard. It's hard for those places. It's one of those things. It's like,
yeah, and the thing is, those areas haven't been affected by a hurricane like that, and I think maybe over a century. I mean, probably late 1800s. So it's a rare thing, to see, and unfortunately, it's something you don't want to see. But this time, you remember the Hurricane Michael 4 years ago kind of took dead aim right on, or 5 years ago, right on Panama City or that Mexico Beach, Panama City beach area. This time it moved further east. It's like, it seems like every part of the state now has been affected by hurricanes at some point. I guess Tampa Bay has kind of been one area that has been able, thank goodness, because they need to with the way their situation is. But Tampa Bay is an area that's been able to kind of avoid the direct hits. They got flooding and a lot of rain, but that's just, the storm surge was awful too, and especially in Steinhatchee and places like that, and Keaton Beach, right where the center came on through. But yeah, I think the good news, if there's good news out of it, you're right. We've most of the schools, most of the places are getting back to normal. But yeah, we hope that our friends in Taylor County and Madison County and Lafayette and Suwannee, I hope they're all recovering well and doing okay. And, the president went to Live Oak. He was there on Saturday. So, that brought him into the area as well. So that it's been a lot of attention on that Big Bend area for about the last week.
No, absolutely, and of course, as again, I'm sitting here trying to pull up here, trying to get the images pulled up here. I'm trying to pull up who I saw it from because it kind of slipped me who did I thought I bookmarked it, but apparently it went somewhere here on me. So that's what I'm trying to find here
Right.
is these photos because it's really. I think if for some people who have not seen it, I think you would really, be interested in seeing some of these photos just to get a little bit of a grasp of what's gone on, what's happened here, because it's definitely a thing. Actually, here we go. Here's Madison County. I've got Madison counties here. Let's see if I can go ahead and do a share screen here. Let me go ahead and get this here in a thing. So let me do this here. This is a little new to me, so I'm trying to do this, but I think I've got it. So here we go.
This is live, folks.
So here we go. So yes, a thing and our thing. So hold on, let me see what happened. Oops, my virtual background has gone off on me. So I got to see why it's a thing. But let me see if I can share the screen here real quick here while we get this figured out here. Here we go. Here we go. I'll go ahead. We got it now. We've got it now here. So here. Let's just stop. I mean this.
This is what I saw. Yeah. That scoreboard basically got cut in half if you look at it.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it just you look at that scoreboard here and you're just like,
yeah, and that's a well known. That scoreboard's been there for years, and of course, very well known with the Boot Hill sign on it. If you've never been to Boot Hill, it's a cool place. I mean, it literally is on top of a hill, which is why they call it Boot Hill. The school, it's in the back of the school. There's basically the cow pasture, horse farm right behind it. So there's not much back there, but it's a cool stadium. Really neat there in Madison. The fans are always good. They're great fans in Madison. Of course, that has been a lot of success to that program, and we hope that they're able to get that back up and going. But yeah, I think it's been a while since a hurricane affected them, something like that.
and then here we go. Here you can take a look a little bit more right there. That picture right there in terms of what has happened here. In terms of just everything, just with the scoreboard, you get a more still picture here. But this is interesting. Is that this was actually not the press box, but this was actually the state championship sign on the stadium,
Oh, wow.
And it just literally snapped it here.
It looks like the press box, but yeah, I guess you're right. That's pretty awful, and yeah, that again, they're gonna. I mean, I guess technically they could probably, if everything else, the stands are okay, they can play in there soon. We'll see how that works out. I mean, there are a lot of more important things to deal with than football. These guys have to get back to school. They don't even have that right now. That's the first thing.
No, absolutely. And trying to see what thing. Let me go ahead and stop sharing this right here. See if I can't get my virtual background to come back on. For some reason, it just decided it wanted to cancel on me. So, Marty, I'm going to keep it on you for right now because it's.
I'm disappearing.
It's a virtual reason. Background, so
yeah.
But everything. So once I can figure this out here, why the virtual background is canceled out on me. Let me see if I can't thing. But let's go. More about the storm here. Actually, Philip Crutchfield leaves a comment here to us. And will the hurricane cause the teams to be full time on the road? And I don't really know that answer.
Well, in the past, they haven't really made teams go on the road like that when we've had hurricanes. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you may have to, because if they want to get their season in, unless they say they don't want to play, but I have a feeling Madison County isn't going to want to do that. And Philip's right; they might have to be on the road. Who knows? And that's an interesting scenario. I don't know if the FHSA would force a team to do that, but it might be the only way they can have the season. But I have a feeling that they'll be able to play their stadium as long as there's power and everything. Electricity, I mean.
No, absolutely here and everything. So that's the biggest thing is electricity. That's the big thing here.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm sure it probably will take a few weeks to get that back, maybe longer. But yeah, it's I guess there's not a lot of good news to come out of it, but the only thing that might be decent is that this happened really early in the season. So for these teams, they can if they miss a week or two, they can make the games up later and then can get the rest of their season going. But yeah, it's never a good scenario, never a good situation to have to go through that, and unfortunately, it's become because we're in Florida, pretty common.
No, you're absolutely right. It has become this has become a common scene. By the way, we talked about something here that there's some couple of games going on tonight, and we've got that. We've got a score right now. Halftime score: Rebolt 7, Atlantic Coast 6.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting right there.
Tuesday night football.
TNF.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Okay, so my virtual background has decided to disappear, but so I'm going to bring myself back up here onto the camera here.
Really?
We're going to
Oh,
split.
gosh.
We're going to split here and do that, and then we'll do things. So I'm kind of here now, but
A peek behind the curtain, literally, behind Josh.
Yeah, so that's the peek behind the curtain right there. So it's a little bit of a thing. I don't know why the virtual background decided to act up here. We'll figure it out here and thing. Now the reason why Marty's virtual background is it's working because it's coming off a different camera, a different angle, different perspective, and all that. But anyways,
I keep every now and then I dissolve into the microphone, but it is what it is. The colors I see right there.
That's how these virtual backgrounds work and all that. But Marty, if y'all got questions, pop it into the chat wherever you're watching us. Tell us where you're watching from and everything. And Chris Anderson, the fourth, he's watching us from down over in New Tampa, which is just north of Tampa, but it's in Hillsborough County, right there. I think they got Bruce Beat Downs Boulevard, that region, that area. So
yeah, that's and you said mentioned earlier Raymond Q with a comment, and boy, Hawthorne just continues to roll. I mean, going to Newberry's better this year, and I'd say than they were the last couple of years. But Hawthorne goes in there and beats them by 30. I mean, they go to Newberry. It's just Hawthorne is just on a roll. I mean, literally the defending state champs, and I don't know. Honestly, I know it's a long season, but I don't know who's going to beat them on that schedule. I mean, they do play Union County again. That's a possibility, but I mean, it's hard to see right now. North Marion's on the schedule. North Marion is down this year. I think Hawthorne is definitely a favorite, but Williston's a team we've been talking about in this area, and 1R as well. I think Williston will maybe the team that's going to challenge them down the stretch, along with Union County. But but another big win for them last week by 30.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I got my green screen back, the green virtual background back up, and of course, Marty can thing as we're here facing each other. He can see what we're seeing here on the side, so he can see everything that's going on. We got need some new questions and comments here, so on everything. But we got a good. We are going to talk about Panhandle football, Jackie. I appreciate you think that we are going to talk a little bit more. We think, but we can only get ourselves out there so much and everything. And Florida's a huge state, a very expansive state. So
it's big. I mean, keep in mind, from here to Pensacola is from where we live is 6 hours. It's 6 hours to South Florida. It is a big state. I mean, it really is. And of course, the Keys are 9 hours away. Everything it's very spread out in this state. But there is, a lot of good football in the Panhandle. We will talk about that from as the season goes on and here today. But we know that the Panhandle has, through the years had a lot of good teams in the 1A classification. Mm-hmm. Baker just recently winning a state title. But Pine Forest is another team she just said as well. Yeah, we got a lot to get to with all kinds of teams and games around the state.
And that's another thing. So before we go on to the talk about week 2 here, because week 2 there was definitely a lot that happened around the Sunshine State week 2 in terms of what the games that did get played, and so my thought is hopefully for people out in Taylor County, I keep our thoughts and prayers out there, especially as y'all recover. We don't know again when the Taylor County Bulldogs will return to the field, and we know that Lafayette hopes to return to the field once electricity is more restored in Lafayette County, and then of course Madison County going up to the border war and up in Brunswick did this weekend, so that'll give them a little bit of a sense of normalcy. And it may be, they go on the road for a while, but we'll see what happens there in Taylor County. Swanee hopefully will get back in action. Brantford too as well, because they were both impacted with the storm. But Columbia this week, and I believe Columbia's at DeLand this week, and so that we'll talk about there.
They got another tough one to avoid going 0-2, and they would have had a tough one with Union County too, who beat them last year. But yeah, that's I'm just looking forward to having games this week, back to a normal schedule. So
no, absolutely, and everything like that. So and then So everything. So let's kind of transition. Let's talk about week 2 here. Kind of some interesting things around the Sunshine State. But first parts on that is bringing up the scores here from the top 25 here. And we'll release the new top 25 tomorrow, new rankings, everything, all that. We'll start to put the top 25. We'll start to do the rankings here on the show here on Tuesday nights. But just kind of trying to get our things figured out here this week. First show. Episode 1 here of the Blitz, the Florida Blitz, and Josh Wilson here, Marty Pallman. We're coming to you live here, watching us wherever you want to, Facebook, Twitter, called X now.
I don't want to call it X, YouTube, honestly.
I'm having a hard time calling it X still,
it's weird.
But it is X, so we'll recognize that a little bit there.
Are we contractually obligated to call it X from Elon Musk? Is that how it works?
I guess so.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, the little Twitter bird is gone now, so we all we see is this X. So you're right, I guess that's what it is. But either way, it's social media, and we want to hear from you.
No, absolutely. So you can type into the live chat box, either Facebook, Twitter, AKX, or on YouTube. So y'all can comment, leave us comments here. You join us here and everything. All right, so. First things first. Let me get this dealt with here. Do a little first order of business here because we got to thank Philip Crutchfield for everything he has done for us to get us up here and going and all that. So we both know Philip really well. Philip spent
who?
Philip Crutchfield.
Who's that? I don't know him. Not at Eastside anymore. I don't know him.
He's watching, by the way.
Oh, I know. Oh, I'm well aware. It's okay.
Anyways, no two of us are exactly alike. That's why you need a financial advisor with the freedom to focus on the details that make your life your own, your family, the challenges you face, the dreams that inspire you, whatever your goals. You need an advisor who can create a plan uniquely tailored to you, all backed by the sophisticated resources of Raymond James. That's life well planned. To learn more, call financial advisor Philip Crutchfield at 352-642-8330. Raymond James and Associates, Inc., member New York Stock Exchange, SIPC.
Yep, so, good.
And there's this thing, the sponsor logo down there helping us out here, going getting this going with all the live streaming and all that. Takes a little bit of technology to get this going. It's not just it's a click of a button. Sometimes.
I'm gonna have to learn this too as we go along. Thank goodness Josh is very, very versed in this because right now I'm looking at a lot of stuff on this screen. It looks cool. I don't think I know how to run any of it, but it is nice to have technology. I do. Sometimes I act like I don't like it, but it's cool. It's really kind of cool.
No, absolutely. And of course, I appreciate again. Thanks, Philip, for everything you've done so far here. And what we're going to be working on, still with the streaming software, we'll work out a few kinks here, learn, make it more advanced as we go along. And, here, and we'll keep doing this and we'll clip up things here. And as well, after the show, we'll do it, put in audio form as well for everybody to listen, but also break down the segments as well. But we'll do it from there and all that. So, looking at some things here, let's get into the week 2 discussion. Let's go into the scoreboard actually here. Go to the top 25 scores here that we had from this week here. Let me bring this down here so that way y'all can see the entire scoreboard because sometimes it does technology loves to do this thing and not click all the way over. But here we go. Here I'm going to bring this into the full screen that way Marty can see a little bit better here. Looking at some scores here. Actually, that was not the first one that should have gone off. Let me hit the right one here.
Again, live show, folks.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Wow. Miami Central going down to Bishop Gorman. What a game that was.
Yeah, absolutely here. So let's talk about that here because here's the thing here. Miami Central, I mean, who would have expected Miami Central to lose their season opener? But then again, it's Bishop Gorman.
Right. And what a game, 39-35. And I don't think you can really fault Miami Central too much for that loss. And that game was that out in Bishop Gorman?
That wasn't.
So they had to travel.
That was out in Las Vegas. And that game actually was very interesting. Is that game got delayed a couple hours because they had to have all the thunderstorms.
And that's weird because that's in Las Vegas. You would expect not to have that, but man, for some reason they've had like monsoons in Las Vegas for the past week and Nevada and Arizona. But yeah, that's interesting, that game. You think Miami Central will be like, man, are we back home or something getting delayed by thunderstorms. But yeah, that's an interesting a game. Miami Central going down. By the way, my favorite score of the week: Chaminade Madonna 41, Cardinal Gibbons 4.
Yes,
Two 2-run homers by Cardinal Gibbons is all they got.
And yes, that is not a misprint on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Cardinal Gibbons scored 2 safeties, and that's it.
Their
offense was shut out.
And again, they're the 7th ranked team in your poll according to the state of Florida, and they scored 4 points against Chaminade. How good is Chaminade Madonna this year?
I mean Chaminade Madonna was the favorite in the PRI forecast. So
yeah.
I mean, the thing. By the way, a shameless plug here. If you're not subscribed on FloorHSFootball.com to the MVP membership, that's where the PRI forecasts go every week. And of course, we'll release the new PRI forecast tomorrow, once we get the 2 final games here done tonight, so that way we can get all the calculations in and make sure everything is correct and all that. But it's worth every bit of the subscription. 3 different options: $10 a month, $50 for 6 months, or $90 for the entire year. Worth it every bit. Helps support not only what we do on the website with content, but also with things like this here on FloorHSFootball.com with live video shows.
Yeah, and of course we hope everyone checks all that out during the week. Of course, you also have your show on Friday nights now, the reaction show that you started last week. So, it's good to see that. I'll be calling in from Jacksonville, or I'll be doing games every week. But I look forward to checking that out again. That was nice to watch last Friday night, and good to have that on. So we're going to be pretty busy through football season here on Tuesdays, and then on Friday nights as well, of course, and some Thursdays. But looking at the scoreboard again, you had 2 top 10 matchups. We talked about Chaminade Madonna and Cardinal Gibbons, but Trinity Christian in Jacksonville goes down to American Heritage, number 5 and number 8. American Heritage gets another big win, 27-14. So the Patriots off to a good start there as well of American Heritage. And meanwhile, how about Miami Norland beating Lakeland week 1 on the road? They beat Carroll City 52-0.
By the way, Carroll City is 0-2.
Yeah,
and Carroll City has been shut out first 2 weeks of the season.
Ouch! So rough year there. Yeah.
So that's something that we'll discuss. We'll have hot takes coming up here in a bit here, and
we've got some 0-2 teams we're going to talk about that are surprising. One of them's on this screen.
Yeah, one of them's on the screen here, and so as you see, IMG number 2 here in the state. Their game at Thompson, Alabama was canceled. So there's that. But
what was that? That wasn't the hurricane.
Actually, it was the hurricane that impacted IMG, and it wasn't. It was interesting.
Wait, was that at IMG?
It was supposed to be in Thompson, but it was. But IMG couldn't fly out because Tampa Bay International had shut down, and that's where they were supposed to fly out of.
Yeah, because you remember last week what happened. Florida flew out a day early to go to Utah. They went to Dallas and then to Utah because the storm was coming in late Tuesday or Wednesday. So yeah, that did affect some travel plans. So that's interesting that. First of all, it's interesting that team flies. How many high school teams fly where they're, other than, taking the long road trip? Don't hear that a lot. So that's interesting as well. Mike Rideout saying we Hitchcock led Bell 38-6. Is that live? That game right now?
I'm not sure what's going on because I was told that game was canceled, and that's what I'm kind of curious about. Because I was told that game was canceled. The Panama City television station that said the game was canceled. Bell said that I heard saw was canceled. So I don't know if this is a makeup. They're playing denied for some reason, and I'm unaware of it. But if Mike, if you're still watching, listening, and everything, let us know, and we'll take a look at that one here. But going back into the scores here, the top 25 here. But we talked about a team that's 0-2. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But Cocoa 31-21 over Venice. Cocoa number 10, Venice number 24 this past week, and really, really interesting here. Is Dennis 0-2, and
they're going to say bye-bye to the top 25.
Yes, that's going to happen here, and that's the thing. And another team I had in the top 25 that started the thing, but said bye-bye last week was Osceola, and you can see why here. Seminole just totally rolls all over them, 31-6, and Osceola is just out of the gate. Now, give Osceola props. They have played a tough schedule coming out at the start of the gate. Treasure Coast last week, Seminole this week. So, I still expect Osceola to win their district and make the playoffs. Now, could Osceola this year be what Treasure Coast was last year, losing record going into the playoffs, but because they played such a tough schedule, that's a potential right there. So don't discount there. And of course, Columbus rolls over Miami Killian 38-0 there.
Columbus having no problem. St. Thomas Aquinas rebounds and has no problem with Fort Myers, number 14, to pull 49-0. So the Raiders get back on track after a loss week 1, although they lost to probably the number 1 team in the nation, one of them, in that first game. Was it St. John Bosco, right? They played.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, that was a tough one. But yeah, that's I know that's page 1. You can, if you want to move on, we can talk about the next slate of games. Was that it, or is there more?
We got more. We got more here.
Yeah, we covered those games. Yeah, and on this page, well, look at Armwood. I mean, you don't have, they weren't ranked. I have a feeling they're going to be now. But week 1, they upset Venice. Week 2, 55-0 over Bloomingdale. So Armwood's off to a 2-0 start. Other than that, I mean, really the big surprise on this board, I think, is Ponte Vedra going to Florida High and beating the defending state runner-up 23-22. Ponte Vedra lost a 3-point game to Bartram Trail week 1, and they go on the road and to Tallahassee and get a big win in week 2.
No, absolutely here, and that's the big thing right there, and that's what I'm trying to, think, look at that. It's like, it really, it's big here.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Orlando Jones, tough loss for them. They play Our Lady Good Counsel of Maryland 40-14. How about this game? Number 13, Clearwater Academy International. Number 14, Edgewater, and they're one ranking apart. They're 1 point apart. Edgewater wins 15-14, so a good one there between Edgewater and Clearwater Academy International. Meanwhile, Buchholz, who I have a feeling maybe seeing the ranking soon, goes to 2-0. They go to Riverview or Sarasota and beat Riverview Sarasota 53-31. So Buchholz has rolled through Columbia and Sarasota Riverview the first 2 weeks. Lakeland rebounds. They get a win over Largo after their week 1 loss to Norland, so they get that win 28-0.
No, absolutely, and of course, looking at some of the other things here in terms of the games here, that Lake Wells, just rolling there 40-46. Mainland 35-0 over West Broward, and of course Armwood rolling 55-0, and of course Armwood beat Venice in week 1, and about Ponte Vedra 23, Florida High 22. I mean that's. Yeah, I think the Ponte Vedra may be a legit team. Again, they almost beat Bartram Trail week 1, and that's a big win on the road. Meanwhile, St. Augustine and Gibbs are supposed to play. That game was called off down in St. Pete due to the hurricane as well. But again, you had a top 20 matchup here that ended up being a 1-point game. So that was good to see between Edgewater and Clearwater Academy International. Edgewater now 2-0, and now Clearwater Academy's 0-2, but their schedule is rough. Clearwater Academy is basically playing a national schedule almost down there. No, absolutely, and all that, and so everything like that. So let's now we're getting it situated, set straight here. The screen, we're trying to bring the screen, get it more focused in here, trying to work on some things. But hopefully next week we'll be able to put it into where and on the screen where you'll be able to see our faces while we're talking the scores here. Trying to figure that out a little bit, but little kinks of the technology here, learning the platform of this streaming platform. But I've got most of it figured out, but not that one yet.
Right. That's all right.
So, but when you look at week 2, you look at some of these scores, you look at some of the stuff that's gone on around here, around the Sunshine State. It really, it's really, really interesting, in terms of what's gone on, what's happened, and you just look at it, and it's like, okay, Venice is 0-2, you're like, it's like, what's going on, and then Bradford, Bradford's 2-0. I think Bradford will enter the top 25 here pretty soon. That's another team right there.
Yeah, and talk about they did this last year. I think they had 7 or 8 shutouts. Bradford did already in 2 weeks. They shut out Baker County. They gave up 6 points to Baldwin. So their defense is just legit.
And that, by the way, that 6 points to Baldwin was not the defense; it was special teams.
I was wondering about that. So they haven't allowed any points defensively through 2 games.
Yeah, so they
that's about right.
Yeah, but in terms of what the proverbial shutout, it kind of got erased because of the special teams.
If you remember a year ago too, they basically, I think they gave up like maybe 100 points the whole year, and 31 of those were to Cocoa in the state semifinal. Unfortunately, Bradford came out a little bit short.
And their only loss was to Swanee.
Yeah, Swanee, who was
the last game of the season,
made it to the region final. Yeah, exactly. And I was on the road in Live Oak. Yeah, so Bradford, they're legit. They're a team to watch there in that class in 2S. I think they're going to have a real chance there this season. But it says that Lakeland game was a cakewalk game for them. Yeah, they beat Largo. That's true.
Willie Kelly sells that right there, and then of course,
sorry, but yeah, I just saw that online, and we G McKenzie. Oh boy,
G McKenzie sitting here
we
already talking about the Bradford Tornadoes.
and
his son's Jeremiah McKenzie, one of the quarterbacks there at
not
Bradford. So.
not exactly who Middleburg probably wants to see is Bradford. And by the way, who made their schedule? Hawthorne. They were supposed to play Bishop Kenny. They opened with Hawthorne. Now they're playing Bradford. Who made Middleburg's schedule? That's tough. I mean, they didn't play Bishop Kenny yet, but they'll play them in October.
I mean, Middleburg's schedule. It's got you got a defending state champion that you opened up with. You've got two state semifinalists in Bradford and Columbia on the schedule. I mean, how much tougher?
You've got a Bishop Kenny who was a district champ last year. Right. They're pretty good again, I think. Do they play their district? St. Augustine's not their district anymore, right?
No, it's Columbia, Middleburg, Orange Park, and Ridgeview.
Well. Orange Park's been, kind of down. Ridgeview is really struggling. Columbia, though, is legit. That will be the game. It'll probably be Columbia and Middleburg for the district title. I'm thinking that if they can get past Orange Park, Middleburg can. But can they get past the Orange Park Raiders? That's my alma mater. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, we'll see as that season goes on. But yeah, you mentioned some of the surprises, and you talked about Venice being 0-2. One game we didn't see on the top 25 or the scoreboard there. Bowles loses to Mandarin 42-35, and now I think Mandarin, a team we're going to watch, probably get to the rankings soon. They're 2-0 with wins over Fletcher and Bowles. Bowles is 0-2. When's the last time that happened? I didn't look it up. I meant to. But when is the last time Bowles was 0-2? It's got to have been before Corky Rogers was the coach, probably, which would have been sometime in the early 80s.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. What's going on with
Well, and then both games were close. I mean, they lost to St. Augustine in the last minute week 1. I think St. Augustine's pretty good. And then they led Mandarin. They kind of went back and forth, and Mandarin pulled it out at late. But yeah, I mean, it's just a tough road for Bowles, and now they got to play Coffee County in Georgia and Brunswick, and after that they get Trinity Christian. Bowles could be 0-4. I mean, we're legitimately talking about. They could, if they lose to Coffee, they could obviously lose to Trinity Christian. They're looking at it maybe an 0-4 start, but right now they are 0-2, and I think that's more surprising than anything else. Probably in Northeast Florida, Bowles is they're Bowles, and it's just not normal. Last year they lost. I think they lost 4 games in the regular season, which was rare, but then they made it to the state semifinal anyway after that. So it doesn't always mean that they're not going to make a playoff run.
No, absolutely, and that's a big thing. Is are they gonna with these things make a playoff run? That to me, really I mean, Bowles has got their district. The biggest foe they've got to deal with in their district is Bishop Kenny. I mean,
Bishop Kenny beat them last year,
right?
That's
why I mean
for the first time in 45 years. Yeah, you're right, and I think you're right. In that district too. I mean, the other teams are Episcopal and Wolfson, so yeah. You think BK and Bowles are definitely favored there. But yeah, they'll play Thursday, October 26th. So that game's a ways off. But that'll be a Thursday game at Bowles because it's Florida Georgia week. So they move that game up a day. But yeah, pretty much that's going to be for the district championship. Bishop Kenny's schedule is pretty interesting now because they were supposed to go to Middleburg last week. That game gets postponed.
Right.
So now they're home for Decoy Creek this week, who dropped the game to Matanzas. They're 1-1. But they have 4 of their first 5 at home. The only road game in September is at Bishop Moore next week. They go to play Bishop Moore in Orlando, who beat them in the postseason last year. And then in October, 4 straight road games in a row: Ponte Vedra, Episcopal, Middleburg, and then Bowles, before closing with a home game against University Christian. So, it's not exactly an easy opponent. So that schedule kind of interesting now with the Middleburg game being moved to October 20th for Bishop Kenny.
No, you're absolutely right, and everything. And I've got something up here. I've got the schedules up here, and in terms of looking at some stuff here, in terms of what I've got, and looking at this, somebody may ask about St. Thomas Aquinas being on upset alert, and I'm going to pull that up here. Michael Parsons. By the way, let me actually bring this comment up from Michael Parsons first. But what you know about Virgin Catholic, a challenge for Chaminade, and I will say this here, and
absolutely,
I'll tell you that right now. Here's this. Virgin Catholic's 2-0 last I looked. Virgin Catholic is one of those powerhouse teams from New Jersey, and Chaminade Madonna. I think it'll give them a challenge, but Chaminade Madonna. I mean, Chaminade Madonna is just really, really potent again this year. I mean, Cedric Bailey back at quarterback. I mean, you can't deny that right there, especially for what he has been able to do the last 2 years for the Lions. Getting to the state title game, and of course, Chaminade Madonna is now looking for their third straight state championship this year. Because they lost in 2020 to Trinity Christian. They led most of that game, and then they ended up right there at the end in the fourth quarter. Trinity Christian turned it on, and that was it.
And I think if they had won that year, wouldn't they be looking at 5 in a row this year, probably? Because they had won 3 out of 4, I think, right?
And I believe that they won in 2019.
Yeah.
So, yes, they would.
They would be looking for 5 in a row.
They would have been looking at that for that 5 in a row.
Which would have been the record.
Which, by the way, we'll talk about that in hot takes and stuff like that. But because, that'll be something there about 5 peeps. We'll talk about that there.
He mentions Aquinas on Episode Alert. Yeah, Coco, is that who they're playing?
Yes, it is. That's Coco and St. Thomas Aquinas, one of the big matchups this week.
That's possible. I mean, Coco's definitely rolling. I mean, beating Venice is huge for them, and they're state champs from a year ago, and off to a 2-0 start. So, yeah, that's going to be a test for St. Thomas Aquinas after dropping a close game week 1 to St. John Bosco, who that's the team from California. See, I have to
the top ranked team in the
I have to remind myself they're in California. Don Bosco Prep is New Jersey. I keep thinking there's these the Bosco names, but yeah. That's right. They played the team from California, number 1 team.
Yeah, the number 1 team in the nation, St. John Bosco, and I mean that was an absolute challenge there for St. Thomas Aquinas. They're on ESPN, national television for everybody to see, and it really is. But for St. Thomas Aquinas, the way to bounce back was basically to go and kick Fort Myers' butt this week and this past week. That's what they did.
They did. Yeah, and unfortunately, Fort Myers was in the way. I mean, they probably weren't looking forward to that after Aquinas lost week 1. But, yep, somebody, I guess, had to play Aquinas, and unfortunately for Fort Myers, it was them. And, 49-0 to score. But, I mean, I think Aquinas definitely more of a challenge this week against the defending state champion, Coco.
No, absolutely, and everything like that. And, when we start looking at some of the games here that we got coming up this week, that's going to be, fun. And, we're going to talk about some of those games here. We'll do some picks here. I'll read out some games here, and we're just going to make picks on the fly here.
Michael again saying, St. Thomas Aquinas didn't do well against Don Bosco Prep either. I'm like, yeah, sorry. I have to remind myself there are different Bosco Preps. So St. John and Don Bosco. But anyway. I think that's true. They didn't.
Absolutely.
That's another top 10 nationally ranked team in Don Bosco Prep. But yeah, like I said, that might be the top game in the state this week. Aquinas and Coco coming up.
No, absolutely, and it's going to be one of those top games. And actually, let me see if I'll mention some of the games here. I'm just going to pull it up here. I've got a list here. In terms of the games that are going to be that are going to be Worf mentioning, Worf watching, Worf keeping an eye on here, and here we go. This again: Chaminade Madonna, Virgin Catholic, St. Thomas Aquinas, Coco, Seminole, Treasure Coast. Treasure Coast put. By the way, as in the week 2, Treasure Coast put 66 points up on Tampa Jesuit.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
man, that is
66 points.
That's
here you go. Here's
impressive.
Yeah. Here's another one. Miami Northwestern versus Venice. Somebody's going to win their first game.
No, Miami.
Actually,
I think Northwestern's
won.
Yeah.
Now, so here's the question.
But how about Venice's schedule? I mean, that's...
and you got to go play. You got to go play this game at Transpal, by the way.
Yeah, great. After you went to Coco, how about that?
Yeah, you go to Coco, and then you got to.
Who made that schedule? John Peacock. I mean,
yes, he did.
Okay, well.
Yes, he did.
He's almost getting them a national schedule now at Venice. But, I mean, they're going to have a hard time avoiding 0-3 with that game. Like I said, Bowles is going to have a hard time avoiding 0-3. So is Venice. Those are tough games for both teams.
Here's another one that's going to be really good. Mainland versus Bartram Trail.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Another one, Miami Central versus Booker T. Washington.
There's a game right here in Gainesville. 2-2-0 teams, Buholtz and Eastside.
That's
on
another
Friday night.
One. That's a Friday night.
Yes. Which the game was called off in the first quarter last year. With Buholtz up 7-0 due to the weather, and both teams are 2-0. Both teams have rolled through their first 2 games. I mean, Buholtz looks like they haven't missed a step, even without Creed Whittemore, who, by the way,
Or Mark Whittemore, the previous
Mark Whittemore, who is now assistant baseball coach at Buchholz. Yeah, Chuck Bell is.
Chuck Bell has done really well first 2 weeks here, taking over.
Speaking of that, did you notice Creed Whittemore, his first game, 2 touchdowns for Mississippi State, one on an end around, one on a reception. He's already making an impact at Mississippi State, but Mr. Football from last year, and Buchholz has found maybe his replacement, Trace Johnson, Doug Johnson's son, sophomore, and they rolled over Riverview on the road, Sarasota Riverview, pardon me. I have to remember to say that because there's a Riverview and a Sarasota Riverview. But yeah, Buchholz week 1, they scored 40 against Columbia. Week 2, 53 against Sarasota Riverview. And now they'll play an Eastside team that's only allowed 9 points the first 2 games, shut out Keystone Heights last week. So that's one game in this area. As you mentioned, Bartram and Mainland, that's a heavyweight game right there. Both teams 2-0. And last year, Bartram went to Daytona Stadium and beat Mainland in a classic. So we'll see how if Mainland's able to get them this time at Bartram Trail.
Oh, yeah. Some other games that we'll talk about here. Niceville versus Lincoln this week. Clearwater Calvary Christian versus Carrollwood Day. Kissimmee Osceola versus Jones. So somebody there between those 2 teams, somebody's going to win a game this week.
Jones?
Their first game.
Jones is 0-2?
Yes, Jones is 0-2.
Jones
lost to Cocoa week 1.
Sorry.
So, and everything. So there's that one. So, Kissimmee Osceola versus Jones battle 0-2 teams right there. Tampa Catholic versus Clearwater Central Catholic. That's another one right there. That'll be really good. And, of course, looking at a few more potential other games that could be interesting. Lakeland versus St. Joseph's Prep out of Philadelphia. St. Joseph's Prep are actually coming down to play that game at Bryant Stadium. So,
wow.
The thing, Western versus Coconut Creek. Edgewater versus West Orange. Edgewater just barely got by Bishop Moore, which I believe Bishop Kinney plays
next week. Yeah,
and then they got barely by Clearwater Academy International for a 1-point game. Which, by the way, another shameless plug for the the PRI forecast. The game had Edgewater winning that by 1. The final result was by 1. So
there you go.
So I mean that's what we had right there. So
hey. Might as well talk it up when it works. Good idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shameless plug. By the way, this was as of Sunday, but the percentage has actually kind of gone up here a little bit. But 171.65 on games. Actually, it's 173.64 now.
73.64. Okay, I don't.
In terms
know
of
what that. Well, I have a calculator.
Well, it was about 73%.
I was about to say it's somewhere in the 70s. I'm going to go. Yeah.
So far in the season, it was 345, 171, so about 67%. But
it's early.
It's early.
Week 1 is tough.
Week 1 is always tough because, I say this because week 1's always tough because you can't. I mean, this is just basically on statistical numbers. There's nothing to calculate. Oh well, team X has 15 Division I guys, and they had 10 transfers during the off season kind of school. Or there's been a head coaching change so and so school, so the coaching styles, the coaching philosophies may be different in terms of these coaches. And of course, Michael Parsons brings up this comment here. Replacing Joe Pincos. Well, I mean, I'm not no Joe Pincos, but I'm trying.
Is Michael like your? He's like your muse here. He's like he's playing you up here, Josh. He's talking you up there. It's like, yeah. I mean, that's exactly. I was just going to say that's exactly what you're doing, Josh. Really, you've kind of taken over that, kind of the formula, but the picks and everything from Joe Pincos all those years. Joe, may he rest in peace. And yeah, I guess that's kind of is what you're doing. Somebody need to pick up the slack, and I figured you were a good choice for it. So we know your love of numbers, and I don't think I could spend that much time doing the calculations.
The calculations are done through the computer. So
true. Well,
I tell it what to do, and it doesn't. So
there's a human aspect too. But yeah. That's right.
But I also do have the human rankings and stuff. But guys, if you got questions, comments, or anything like that, before I knock my microphone over with the process, before I knock my microphone over, if you got comments, questions, anything, hit the chat box wherever you're watching from, either on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Hit those comments on there. We can take those comments and we can display them on the screen as you have seen, and we can talk whatever you got on your mind, questions, everything else here, but. It definitely is worth the advantage of
something. Here's something.
Yeah, it's my microphone.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why I got buzzing all there or something, but we'll figure it out here in a moment. But I tell you what, here's a big thing. Hot takes. We're gonna roll into hot takes.
Okay.
Things that are surprising after 2 weeks into the season. Venice 0-2. Let's start there.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talked about that a little bit, and the schedule hasn't really done them any favors. But Venice is a surprise at 0-2, and we have Bowls at 0-2. That's a surprise as well. And again, who knows when those teams are going to win? If Venice goes to Northwestern, Trask Powell on Friday, as we said, Bowls will be heading to Georgia to play the border battle there against Coffee County, who's 2-0. So. Again, there's no guarantee that those teams are going to get wins. So, Venice, I guess, as a defending state champ, though, is definitely a surprise starting the year with 2 losses, even though they played Armwood and Cocoa to start.
McKinn, here's another one. Bulls 0-2 that we talked about just a few minutes ago. But, I mean.
Yep, and that's right. And again, I don't know if that really says anything. Bulls will eventually probably turn it around as the season goes on, but yeah, it's strange to see, and something like that going on. So, yeah, interested to see. Meanwhile, I guess teams that have been dominant early in the season. How about we mentioned Armwood 2-0 to start, beating.
Yes, they beat Venice week 1. Here they are week 2. They just rolled through Bloomingdale 55-0.
Right.
I mean, you couldn't. And for Armwood, by beating Venice, they got themselves into the top 25, and now they're going to hold that. They're going to be in that position where Venice is kind of sliding out the back door here. But we'll see. Because I will tell you this: Venice is definitely not going to be in the top 25 when that comes out tomorrow. But hey, what can Venice do? What can Venice do? Win a few games and maybe get themselves back in it.
Yeah, basically. And again, it's a long season, a long way to go. So. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a long season. I mean, just to say that, and despite the fact you start 0-2, it doesn't mean anything really, because in the end, if you make it to wherever the state championship game, I guess it's Tallahassee.
Well, we'll talk about that in hot takes in a moment.
Here, I had to say that's a story in itself. But yeah, that again, and I think Bowls again, Navarre, Bill Hamill.
Yeah, let's talk over
Irish Bill.
Irish Bill. Good evening to you, and as well. And actually, we got the comment here. Let's get the right comment because it's a comment coming.
Yeah, Rivaro.
Irish Bill. How about this? It's been a struggle for the Navarre Raiders as they start 0-2. They lost in overtime last week in week 1 to Pensacola Catholic. Yeah. But, I mean, in Pine Forest, they just got hammered by Pine Forest this past week. So,
and good evening to you as well, Irish Bill. Good to talk to you and good to hear from you. Yeah.
He's somebody that we might potentially have on.
He's Mr. Navarre. He's been working with him many years now. And Navarre, it's rare that they start 0-2. He's right. And Pine Forest, though, that's a story of another team that's pretty legit, it seems like, to start the year. Meanwhile, what was it? Michael Parsons, Deerfield versus Carroll City.
I gotta check that because Deerfield versus Carroll.
Both 0-2, I think.
Both 0-2, and
what the HE double hockey sticks happened?
No, you're right because something there. It's just it's so weird what has happened there with Deerfield Beach and Carroll City. Both of them are 0-2. Well, actually. Deerfield, you know what? I will say this. Actually, Deerfield did win this past week, I believe. So Deerfield's not 0-2. So I think they're 1-1. But but the thing is though. But anyways, it really is interesting. Some of these teams that are gone 0-2 here that I wouldn't have expected 0-2. Navarre is not a team I would have expected to start off 0-2. I would have expected them at least go 1-1. I would have expected them maybe potentially beat Pensacola Catholic, but not
Right.
beat out. I wouldn't expect them to win against Pine Forest necessarily, but I mean, you know.
Yeah. Well, right.
And Irish Bill says, "Good, you as well." And Pine Forest with Navarre transfer, which that doesn't help it when you actually lose guys.
Yeah, the good old transfer portal, which they act like it exists in high school sports. It really does. The transfer portal exists, but yeah, that changes a lot for a lot of teams. And I guess Pine Forest is got their quarterback now, whereas Navarre is probably struggling to make up for it. But by the way, we have another issue or another topic we're going to get to about Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that here in a few minutes here. But,
yeah, that's interesting because the with the games on college games on Friday nights, it's starting to become become an issue, and some things that college coaches are even talking about. We'll hear about that a little bit later. I'd admit I'm not a fan of Friday night college football. I mean, I don't think they don't need to play.
We'll talk about
that.
We'll discuss that here in a moment. You're watching the Blitz here, the Florida Blitz, Joshua Wilson and Marty Pallman. Good evening to y'all here as we just come up here a little past 9 o'clock live here or on the FloorHSFootball.com social media channels, YouTube, Facebook, and the platform X, formerly known as Twitter. Say that in a mouthful right there, Marty.
Yeah, I know.
X, the platform formerly known as Twitter.
Formerly known as Twitter, yes. That's right.
By the way, I think we've got a score update here. Actually, I've got several things here. Right now, I know I believe it's in the fourth quarter right now between Ribault and Atlantic Coast, 13-6 Ribault right now. I do have another one that's very interesting, that nobody knew this was happening tonight for some strange reason. I thought this game was canceled. This game was wiped off the map. But apparently they rescheduled. They've made it up tonight. Weewa Hitchika at Bell, 46-6. Weewa Hitchika.
Bell probably wishes they had not decided to play that game. Yeah, tough start for Coach Whittington at Bell this year. They lost to their rival Trenton week 1 and were shut out tonight. And Weewa was a good team. So Bobby Johns, right? Is he still the coach?
He's still there.
At Weewa, yeah. So he takes a trip to Bell to get that win. Of course, he's one of our friends in the Panhandle, of course, along with Frank Beasley, who's at Choctaw. And what a season Choctaw had last year. They made it to the third round of the playoffs, had a couple upsets on the road. So when we talk about Panhandle football, those are some of the teams we'll mention. Weewa, of course, is in 1R, which I still want to call 1A. I can't get used to that one for some reason, even though the others are all different too. But that's the one that I continue to call 1A for some reason. I might just still call it 1A, even though it's not.
1A, 1R. What's in a name?
Right. That's right. So
definitely, what's in a name here? So and all that. But let's look at a couple more other things here. I mean, it's just I'm trying to think. There's one more other game that I've got actually here that I'm trying to find out if there's an update on this one. Last update here. Let's see. Lake Howell is up 26-7 on Space Coast. I want to say that's actually in the fourth quarter, actually. So 26-7 Lake Howell up on Space Coast. That's a makeup from week 1 here, and and actually, to speak of a couple things here, Marty, how about this? COVID-19 actually had an impact on a few teams. Trinity Catholic was one of them.
Week 1,
Space Coast was another. St. Francis, I don't know what happened with St. Francis. Their week 1, they were supposed to play Lake Weir. And
I didn't know that.
And that game got postponed, and so that was really interesting.
It's odd that we're still talking about COVID causing this problem, but Trinity Catholic week 1 was supposed to play Florida High, I believe, and that game was called off. So that's a tough test either way. So then they ended up starting their season at Clearwater Central Catholic, state runner-up from last year, as was Trinity Catholic, and they got blown out at Clearwater. But it is tough to kind of come back and play your first game on the road like that. Meanwhile, as I said, Madison County, their first week game was called at the half against Carrollwood Day. Then they don't play last week. The game is called off. So now they're going to start basically week 3 with a game against one of the better teams in Georgia. So, it's always tough to see things like that, the teams that have, an early bye or have something happens like that.
No, absolutely, and of
Huh,
course,
Bill.
Irish Bill brings up
Oh
this
wow.
comment here. Thing about Tony Cotter, who is the father of
Yeah.
Michael Cotter, who's playing in the NFL,
Oh
doing a
yeah.
great job as his first in his first stint as a head coach at Pine Forest. So that's awesome there, right there. And of course, Irish Bill's referencing something to you, Marty, about that.
Yeah, we did that quite a few years, and I enjoyed working with Irish Bill. There were some days when I didn't always enjoy those tournaments because they were like 5-6 games a day. But yeah, I kind of missed that a little bit. Of course, our friend Mike Rideout still goes and did the Cal Ripken World Series in Branson, Missouri, and a couple weeks ago, so he still does some of that. But yeah, we'd go to the Florida State tournament, and one year we were in Bristol, one year we were in Sebring, and then we'd go to like the World Series, which was in Mississippi, it was in North Carolina, Alabama, different places. So yeah, we had a good time doing that. I mean, we were in Ruston, Louisiana for like literally 2 weeks because they had two tournaments back to back, and there was like 3 days in between, so we didn't even leave. We just stayed there, and I felt like I lived there by the time. We were doing laundry in the hotel. I mean, I felt like I had moved to Louisiana, but yeah, those are some. It's something to do in the summer because the summer is slow. I mean there's not a lot of work
right.
in the summer, so that's something to do. And I the old jock jive, yeah, and that's Robert Williamson, who's always been good to us as well.
So we have a question here, Marty.
Yep.
Thing about Carrollwood Day's classification here, and they are in the 1M, and Carrollwood Day's 2-0 right now. We're not going to sure how that thing. I think the Madison County. I want to say, to be honest with you, that Madison County Carrollwood Day game. That game is. I think I would suspect that they're not going to make that game up. They're not going to finish it. The game was not even halfway over, so I think it's probably end up being a no contest at the end of the day. We'll have to see what happens there on that regard. But Carrollwood Day, Class 1M right there. Same classification as Trinity Christian, Chaminade Madonna, and which those two teams are just red. Chaminade Madonna and Trinity Christian are the two favorites in 1M this year. I mean, and everybody knows about University Christian now, so we can't discount them out. But it's going to be tough to try to repeat what they did last year, especially since some of the key people didn't graduate.
Yeah, but I think they're one of those programs that reloads. I think they're pretty good. They'll be pretty good. They lost week 1 to Reigns. There's nothing bad about losing to Reigns. I think that's another powerhouse Reigns team. But then they go to North Florida Christian and win big. So we'll see. I think UC is going to be, pretty good. I mean, you're right. They lost a lot of guys from last year, and a team that beat Trinity Christian in the region final round. And then you thought, well, this has got to be the favorite to win the 1M classification, but then they lost to Clearwater Central Catholic in the state semis. So, yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise maybe there. But, another team in the Northeast Florida area to watch as UC, along with Trinity Christian, as we mentioned, and Bowles, as teams that have kind of struggled coming out. But Trinity Christian, again, lost American Heritage. So the schedule's just been really tough for those teams to start.
No, absolutely, and that's the big thing right there. But we're gonna do something here in a moment. Here, we're gonna talk something. We're gonna talk a hot topic take that is really actually it's more of a just its own standalone here. Friday Night Lights,
right?
So this is a big one here. I think that we have to talk about this one here in a moment here because it really, at the end of the day, it's it hit me so hard that I'm just like, okay, we got to talk about this tonight. We need to have a video discussion, whatever it may be, and we're going to ask the fans that are watching here. We're going to ask y'all to comment on this one, but everyone, the thing before we go to that here, Marty, as I pull this up here, how about this one here from Irish Bill? Irish Bill, right on the money here. How about this one? Was great to see Fort Walton Beach break their 20-game losing streak, beating South Walton, giving head coach Bobby Clayton his first win at the helm. Bobby Clayton, who was at Gulf Breeze for a while, but he came over to Fort Walton Beach, and now Marty, we have Fort Walton Beach breaking their 20-game losing streak, and that's good for them.
Yeah, that's tough, and first win at the helm, as you said, for the head coach there. Hard to believe Fort Walton Beach had a 20-game losing streak. I mean, this is the program of Danny Werfel, Fort Walton Beach. I mean, they won the state title with him there back in the 90s. So a little odd to see a 20-game losing streak, but yeah, as you said, they get a win over South Walton and get off the schneid, as you would say. So it's always tough to see teams go through those losing streaks. I mean, that's another team here in Gainesville. You mentioned St. Francis. They went through a 3-year losing streak almost before they won a game last year. And you want to see everybody have some success, and it's good to see.
Right.
Don't want to lose. Losing 20 in a row is tough. It's tough at any level, and good to see that Fort Walton Beach gets that win.
No, absolutely, you're right about that there and everything. So let's talk about some things here that we've got here in terms of. Well, let's talk about. Well, actually, not some things. We're going to actually talk about Friday Night Lights now. We're going to go into that here. All right. So, Marty, we talked about this last night in discussion and planning for this tonight. Everything here, Friday Night Lights. This thing. This guy that we're going to talk about here actually was a head coach here in Florida for a couple of years.
Yeah.
The name might sound familiar in terms of what we're going to talk about here. You might have seen this already on social media, but we have to have a discussion about this because this is where I'm going to sound off. This is probably where I'm going to get on my soapbox here tonight.
We're going to have a soapbox. All right.
We are getting onto the soapbox. We're going to have a soapbox.
Right over here. Got a soapbox ready to go.
We've got the soapbox here. So is it Indiana University, right? Or is it University of Indiana?
It's Indiana University.
It's
IU.
Indiana University.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I've got it right because,
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Indiana
IU.
University.
Yep.
Head coach Tom Allen.
Right.
If y'all know the name Tom Allen, you probably do.
Yeah, because he cut his teeth basically as a high school coach in Tampa Bay. He was at Temple Heights in the early 90s, which is a school that doesn't exist anymore. They've been gone since 2007. But he spent 2 years at Armwood in the mid-90s as a defensive coordinator. And he also spent some time at USF back about 10 years ago as a defensive coordinator. So he's been around Tampa now. He's been the head coach at IU since 2016 now. So, and done a really good job because Indiana's been to 3 bowl games, I believe, in the last 4 years. But yeah, Tom Allen, yeah, we're going to hear from him. And again, he's a guy who coached in high school. Then he went off to college to coach. He's kind of worked his way up, but he still believes sports high school football as well. You should at the college level, so you can hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
So
I got to give you the prelude to this.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Go ahead.
Jack Anconi, who writes for Sports Illustrated.
Yeah,
and and from the conference, from the press conference on Sunday, this has already gotten over 1 million views on Twitter.
Yeah, and basically this is a scenario where Indiana this Friday night is playing Indiana State, so they get a Friday game. We saw every week there's usually a Friday game on ESPN of college football, and Tom Allen, like a lot of people, is kind of tired of seeing these Friday night college games.
All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring the share screen up here. We're going to share the video off from what thing. We're just going to play it, and then we're going to we're going to talk about this because this is his comments. I mean, it really it has fired a lot of people up, not just in Florida but across the country. It just really hits home to a lot of how a lot of us feel, not just coaches, players, but the media, all of us. So we've got a lot here. So let me go ahead and hit share on this one, and we'll play this one for y'all and everything, and then we'll play this, and we'll go from there and talk about it here. All right, so here we go. We brought the volume down, and we're going to start that up again. Here we go. And there you go.
He nearly he tried to throw his blue in the face. He almost has lost his voice apparently because you could tell his voice is going. But obviously, a guy who gets pretty emotional and probably gets on the team. But yeah, it's this is a subject we'd like to hear from folks about too, because you and I, of course, are in agreement. This is Friday nights for high school football. It's true, and Thursday night. You can have college football, although Thursday now has become pretty much the territory of the NFL. because the NFL has a game every Thursday now. It used to be college. College football used to have big Thursday night games. We saw Florida play Utah last Thursday night, which is, again, for the Gators, first time they played on a Thursday since 1992. But it normally has become kind of the NFL's night. And we're going to see the NFL opener in 2 nights on Thursday and a couple of college games that are played. But, yeah, Friday night, because there's a few college games every week. Last week it was, I think, Louisville and Georgia Tech were on ESPN. And they'll usually bring you a Big Ten game, and they're going to see that. As Tom Allen says, it's the Big Ten Network showing that game, Indiana State. So not exactly a great game. Indiana State's a state rival of Indiana, but that's not a game Indiana should roll. But, yeah, he's right. Big Ten Network tells them, ESPN, they make those calls. And we saw it with Florida FSU last year, too. I mean, Florida FSU got moved to Friday in Tallahassee, and it was a bad decision, because it was during the third round of the high school football playoffs here in Florida. I don't think we'll see that again. But it's good to hear coaches like Tom Allen say that. And, of course, he's another guy, like I said, it kind of takes a guy, I think, who's coached at the high school level to realize that and to realize what it means. And, yeah, Irish Bill saying that Coach Allen has got off to a great start in Indiana. Yeah, they struggled the last couple of years. Part of the reason they've struggled is trouble putting points on the board. I hope they can roll in the Sycamores. They probably won't have any trouble. Part of the reason is their quarterback, Michael Penix Jr., transferred to Washington. He's now a Heisman favorite. He was really good at Indiana when they went to
Michael Penix Jr., by the way, if that name sounds familiar, Tampa Bay Tech.
Tampa Bay Tech. That's a guy from Florida. See, and that's the thing. He has Penix from Florida. He had his top receiver was from Florida, Tampa area.
So Tom Allen, Tampa Bay area,
definitely. And he's been he was involved with camps at Lakeland High for a while. He's definitely known in the Tampa Bay area, Tom Allen, and he like a lot of people recruits Florida because there's a lot of talent in Florida. Why wouldn't you? But anyway, Indiana, a team that's usually in the middle of the pack in the Big Ten. But anyway, I think that's really interesting take, and it's good to hear. Like I said, it would be nice to hear more coaches kind of come out, and I bet if Nick Saban came out and said that, the whole country would talk about it. As you said, there's a lot of people talking about this anyway.
No, you're right about that, and and I've got a comment on that here on the thread here, because this is what I posted yesterday. Amen. Second, tired of the Division I conferences and, in parentheses, TV networks encroaching on high school football sacred space. It's gotten worse over the last few years, and we'll never be forgiving of what the ACC and ESPN did last year, putting Florida State on a Friday night in the middle of the playoffs. They should have known better. And that right there, last year, that's like, well, what it's the thing? It's for some people it was a choice. It was go watch high school football or go to Tallahassee.
I saw the last 5 minutes of that game because I was in Hawthorne for the state semifinal between Hawthorne and Bluntstown. You were in Bradford. You were in Stark, Bradford and Cocoa. I literally got home and saw. Luckily, that game was really long. I saw the last 4 or 5 minutes when FSU was able to score and hold on and win. So, yeah, I didn't see hardly any of it, and because it's Friday night and Thanksgiving week, and we have playoffs. We're going to be at a playoff game somewhere. So, I don't think we'll see that again before FSU, but. Again, there's always some games on Friday. Sometimes it's understandable. Like usually those Black Friday games that happen in college football, I get it. Now the NFL is going to do a Black Friday game this year. The Dolphins and Jets are playing the day after Thanksgiving, which is new. First time I think they've had a game on a Friday, and I don't know when. So
and you know what? It's just one of those things where it's just like, why? Why do we have to do this? Why do we have to do this?
When did we get away from Friday night just being high school football? It just seems like slowly but surely college football, and again, I don't know if they've taken over the night. It's usually just a few games, but it definitely kind of gets distracting, especially this early in the season.
So. No, absolutely. And I for some reason, I don't know why the video didn't play for some reason. Let me see if I can't thing. Apparently, I guess when I brought it up on the screen share, it did not play the audio for some reason, even though I had it turned up. Let me get it. I can figure that out here. So let me figure that out here. But, again, this whole it's just really disappointing and everything that, that we're sitting here. We're having to talk about this. We're having to sit here and talk about this into the situation of why why is it, if you think about this, the NFL, the NFL operates under an antitrust waiver. So
Right.
one of the things is that they can't have football games on Friday nights because of high school football. They can't have games on Saturday because of college football until after college football season's done, until after high school football season's done.
Right.
For the general regular season. But no one has talked about college here until recently. That they keep encroaching on Friday nights. It's okay to just encroach on the sacred space, and I have got a serious issue with it because if this keeps, and everybody's going to say, "Oh, it's about the dollars. It's about the dollars." I get that, but give us our Friday nights. At least let high school football have its space.
Well, I don't. You mentioned we talked about this too about the NFL antitrust. So I don't know how they're able to play that game the day after Thanksgiving unless it's just different because of Black Friday. You might be able to tell me.
I'm not really sure
how they must be getting around it. Yeah, they've never done it before, so obviously they have I guess maybe one time only they can get around it. Thanksgiving week is the time they can do it. But yeah, I actually didn't know about the antitrust you're talking about. But obviously, college football doesn't have that same thing. College football can play whenever they want. So, and like I said, the NFL has taken over Thursday. It used to be the NBC. In this week's game, the Detroit and Kansas City get started on NBC, and then the games after that on Thursday now are on Amazon Prime. So you have to basically have Amazon Prime to watch them. And so again, the NFL's taken over Thursday. The NFL obviously Sunday night, and then Monday night is the NFL. But college football is kind of, and not only Friday. Well, the MAC, we call it the MACtion. The MAC plays Tuesdays and Wednesdays sometimes, which is odd. But they're about the only conference who would do that'll play just so they can get on ESPN. But Michael Parsons, again, he says...
We're going to bring that comment up here on the screen here.
He's been busy talking to us. And he says he'll choose high school football over college any and every Friday. I'm a New York transplant. I've been here since 1978. My Friday nights are just sort of sacred. Agree 100%. Good word that Josh used, sacred.
It is sacred. Why? This is... It really, it's to a point of why are we doing this?
Yeah. And Irish Bill also chimed in with... having games on Friday night, could he be coming from a recruiting angle? Talking about Tom Allen as well. Yes, absolutely. I think that's what it is. I think that's what. Not only was he a high school coach, but yeah, he has to recruit high school athletes, and it's probably true because instead of going out and watching and recruiting athletes on Friday, which he should be doing, he's got to coach game, which he should be doing on Saturday. So yeah, that's a good point, Irish Bill, and I think he comes from both angles there. The fact that he coached at the high school level and that he needs to recruit players as well.
No, absolutely. He's not wrong there, and I think an Irish Bill's right about that. Having game kid, he could be coming. It really is. Especially you've only got so many weeks. You've got, for most states, you've got 10, 11 weeks. That's it.
Yeah.
For especially if you're recruiting a player and say that team does not make their state playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you don't get to that guy and see his game?
That's what I mean. And then again, there are other ways of recruiting. I know they don't have to. They don't have to be at games. Obviously, the players, athletes can come to them and come to the campus. But that is one big way. You remember when Anthony Richardson was playing at Eastside. You see Dan Mullen in the field at Citizens Field every Friday. It was pretty easy for him to do that, obviously. But, obviously some of these coaches, I don't know if the head coach travels as much for college as some of the assistants or other recruiting coordinators do. But, it's definitely they would definitely rather be out scouting, recruiting on Friday night.
No, absolutely. And actually now I've got the video here now. I think I can play it now that actually what Coach Allen said. So I'm going to bring it back up, play it, and then we can talk about it here, more here, so that way everybody can hear the comments that we've tried to play here. So go ahead and play that right now.
There's no off day this week. Monday's usually our off day. We'll practice on Monday because of our Friday games. So, but you know how I feel about Friday night games. That's not a decision that we make. That comes straight from the Big Ten. So if anyone wants to complain about that, don't talk to me. Okay. And so that's Friday night football is for high school football. Bottom line. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face until somebody tells me to shut up. So, and I'll probably say it again. Friday night football is for high school football.
And there you go. There you have it.
Friday Night Football is for high school football. And his voice, he kind of sounds like Coach O a little bit. His voice is fading, but yeah, obviously a lot of did a little bit of yelling, screaming through the years, but again, Tom Allen is a well-respected guy, good coach, done a really good job at Indiana, and maybe this will start a little bit of a, maybe we'll hear more coaches say that. It would be nice to hear that, but again, as you said, that comment has definitely got a lot of play this week.
No, it definitely has gotten a lot of play, and of course, my comment alone on Twitter when I put thing. Almost 58,000 views. I mean, wow. I know I lit the firecracker there. I mean, of course, Jack Anconi from Sports Illustrated really flipped the firecracker when he posted that short clip. I mean, it just something's got to give. Something has to give.
Mm-hmm.
Like something absolutely has to give here, Marty. And I tell you, it's something's going to have to really kind of just someone's going to have to. Someone's going to have to tell the NCAA, hey, you got to work at the TV networks and the conferences and say, hey,
right.
we got to have something here, or maybe it has to go higher up. I don't know. I don't want to get into politics, but sometimes maybe
it's part of everything else in life. We might as well get into politics probably, but yeah, it could be. I don't see that changing. I mean, as long as the networks and the schools want to make money, they're going to play when the networks want to play. That's just the way it is. That's always been the way it is, honestly. The TV kind of rules. It rules everything mostly, but it definitely rules college football.
No, you're absolutely right, and that's the big thing is that until somebody changes it, this is what's going to drive it. This is what's going to cause games to be on Friday nights, and it's unfortunate that we're having to talk about this, but at the same time, it's this is way it's going to be until something changes.
Right.
So, anyways, looking at a thing, we got week 3 coming up here. We got some
already. Again, it's already week 3. I mean. Yeah, again, as we said, we've talked about this before. It seems like the offseason is so long, and then when the season starts, it flies. I mean, you think about it, we're already, after this week, about almost a quarter of the way through the season. So, and we have 11 weeks, and then, of course, the 4 or 5 weeks of the postseason. But, yeah, week 3 coming up, and we mentioned we've got some really good games. We have some picks we're going to have to get to here in a few moments. We're going to pick the games as well for week 3. And kind of give you a look ahead to that as well, and not including the games tonight, which are makeups from last week mostly.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and we're going to try to get some do some actually look at some games here. Try to look at some games for each region here around the state here to talk about some of the top games. I'll pull them up here, but Marty, the thing your game this week. What do you got here coming up here with Bishop Kenny? Where you're going? What you got this week?
They're going to be home again, missing the Middleburg game last week, which would have been on the road. Home this week to play the Tocoi Creek Toros, who are in their 3rd year as a school now. They're in St. Johns County. They play officially at St. Augustine. It's pretty near Rural Golf Village there. And they actually beat fellow new St. Johns County school Beachside in week 1. And then last week lost to Matanzas by 6. So, yeah, Tocoi Creek comes in 1-1. They have a new coach this year, Zach Harbison, who was formerly the coach at Inglewood and Jacksonville. So Bishop Kenny playing them for they played Tocoi Creek every year they've had a team so far. 2 years ago, Bishop Kenny shut them out at home. Last year, won at Tocoi Creek. Beautiful facility they have, too, at Tocoi Creek. Really nice school, as you would expect. Haven't been to Beachside yet.
You can see it from I-95, by the way, Beachside.
Beachside's like closer, that's right, to the interstate. Tocoi Creek's kind of further back towards 16, 13, that area. Yeah, but that's who we'll see this week. And then next week, like you said, we're going to hit the road to Orlando to play the Bishop Moore team who knocked Bishop Kenny out of the postseason last year. The Bishops will play again.
The Battle of the Bishops.
Week. That's right.
By the way, one game that we had talked about here that was going to be potentially we're going to do a thing, but Thursday night, Niceville hosts Lincoln. The Eagles will be without their starting quarterback Nino Freeman, and that's unfortunate there for Niceville. But Lincoln interesting. They won 21-7 over Paces, but on week 2, so that'll we'll see if Niceville is going to be able to perform like they want to without their starting quarterback. But the one big advantage that Niceville will have is that it's going to be under their lights at home, and Niceville. One of the best state, even though I've not, personally been able to get out to Niceville to do the experience, it is definitely one of the best stadium atmospheres in the entire state. They just literally filled this stadium up.
Philip Crutchfield could help you with that. I know.
Philip Crutchfield, I'm sure Philip.
He's been to Niceville a few times, I think.
Yeah. Philip's still here watching everything, but I think he could probably chime in on that one right there. But
I've definitely seen Niceville play in the area. They've played, in fact. I think 3 years ago they beat Buchholz at Citizens Field in the third round of the playoffs in overtime. It was a classic. Niceville, they used to be in a district about 10 years ago with GHS, Gainesville, and Buchholz. And then, of course, I remember one year when I was in high school, Orange Park played them in the first round of the postseason. So Niceville used to play these teams in this area a good amount. But, at Niceville Lincoln, that's going to be a classic matchup. 2 powerhouses. And I would say Lincoln, if you got a program in Tallahassee that's been pretty much the program that's dominated, it's Lincoln or Godby in Tallahassee. And Lincoln's always has
and
good
Godby's
teams.
Been on a downward trend over the last
just
few years.
lately.
But Lincoln has been more of the team that has really, has really stayed the part of the course. And of course, that really kind of got a foothold there under head coach David Wilson, who led them to a couple state titles, and everything. But yeah, and you know what? I appreciate Gene McKenzie popping on right there. Thank you for the comment there. That's definitely a good show, fellas. Looking forward to every week to the show. Yes, definitely we'll be doing that every week going forward here, and not just during the season, but we're going to do this off season too because there's always football going on. There's always football, and of course, if for some people the girls flag football, we will have that during the springtime. But it's still football, so we'll sprinkle in that here a little bit. But mostly during the season, it's going to be more football. But if we do have any flag football news, we'll bring that up here as well on the show too.
Yeah, and again, Bill, 8 home games for the Eagles. Talking about Niceville, so 8 home games. Boy, oh boy, how did they get that schedule? That's. I've heard of 6.
Well, of course,
maybe 7.
They've got boosters there. They've got some really big boosters there at Niceville, and they can pay some of those teams to come and travel out to the
Panhandle. Because normally you play those 2, the schedule we go back and forth.
Week 1, they had North Miami Beach.
At Niceville? Wow.
Yes.
They got them to travel. Okay.
Yeah.
Up there to get beat, probably.
Yes. Yeah. 29-0, by the way.
Yeah. That's a long trip to get beat, 29-0. But, yeah, and the other, there was one more comment there. Colossal Collision, Michael Parsons says, Clearwater Central
We'll
Catholic.
bring that up in a moment.
Yeah.
Comment. We'll bring that one up there because that's actually in the games we'll be talking about picking here.
Okay.
But Jonathan Ferris, thanks for checking out the show here. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Jonathan, who it's been a long time follower of the website, lived in Tallahassee for a long time.
He's got to be happy.
Alabama.
He's
really? In Alabama now. But
he's got to be happy about his Knowles big win over LSU on Sunday night in Orlando. Good start for them.
Yeah. By the way, they have a Buffalo Wild Wings now in Navarre, and Irish Bill's doing an open invitation to come up for Wednesday Buffalo Wild Wings coaches shows. We have Coach Walls. We will definitely look into that, Irish Bill. Appreciate you for the invite.
There's a guy who's very familiar with this area, Jay Walls.
Yes, Jay
Coach
Walls.
Swanee.
Swanee
led them to the state championship one. Yeah,
99, I think.
Yeah, that's
1999, right. But Swanee didn't win that year.
They played Glade Central at Florida Field. Glade Central beat them. So Jay Walls is well known. He's really done a great job at Navarre as well after going over there. And of course, speaking of that, Navarre, one year GHS went over to Navarre. It was the year they went to the championship in 2012 and beat Navarre pretty soundly in the state semifinal to go to the championship. I remember that.
The next thing, and then of course, what happened next week?
They played Miami Central. They played an NFL team. Literally, Dalvin Cook, Joseph Yearby, those guys. Dalvin Cook, just got a big contract with the Jets. You might want to know. So he was on that Central team.
By the way, I think if Irish Bill is typing in here to us here that Jay Walls' record, I want to say this is for Navarre only is 95-31. I want to say that. So but Jay Walls has been there at Navarre for a while now, doing pretty well there. But he's been he's had success around the state.
Yeah.
So
and surprised they're off to an 0-2 start. It doesn't happen very often.
No, not at Navarre. No, and mean, even Irish Bill can document that. Not under Jay Walls that they really start 0-2. 198, 102 overall as a head coach. So,
that's some success there. You're right. And by the way, yes, Buffalo Wild Wings. You say Buffalo Wild Wings, I'll be there. So yes, we'll have to make it over there at some point.
We'll have to make a trip out. Pack the vehicle and go up to
absolutely
make a road trip to Navarre, which is about 5 hours away from here, in a time zone change too.
Yep, and then Jonathan Ferris is chiming in about Lincoln Niceville. What's your take on the Lincoln Niceville game? We'll get to that. Yeah,
that's another game right there. So looking at some of the things, we're just going to kind of go quick around the state here with the different regions here. So Panhandle, which is pretty much Panama City West, going on that. But some games that I really would say stand out here this coming week. Choctaw at Crestview, that's one right there. I can tell you that one stands out to me. Of course, Lincoln Niceville, that's another game. That'll be on our picks there that we're going to talk about in a moment. But here's and then looking at a couple others here. Interesting is that one more that I'm really kind of pulling out is I really think Rickards Navarre will be an interesting one because Rickards beat Crestview week 1 and lost to Gaston County last week. Navarre starting 0-2. I think this is a game that, in my mind, in this one with Rickards at Navarre, is that Navarre has a chance, in my opinion, could win this game. I mean, Rickards, it's really interesting that, Rickards was able to beat Crestview, but then this past week, Gaston County just literally, got them. And I think this is a good chance for Navarre here to rebound and figure out things and get a W here on the board.
Yeah, I think so too. We'll get into that a little bit, but yeah, it's it's hard to see them losing anymore, at least not getting a win this week. But again, we've talked about those teams that have started 0-2 who have tough schedules, by the way, and Navarre is one of those as well as they will. They'll take on Pine Forest this week, right? Is that what they're playing?
Who repeat that again?
Navarre. You're talking about Navarre.
No, they're taking on Rickards.
Oh, Rickards. I'm sorry. They played Pine Forest. Yeah. Rickards. That's a game that's pretty winnable, I think, against Rickards. Rickards has been a program that's kind of struggled recently. So, yeah, I think Navarre will get off the schneid this week.
No, absolutely not. I think that'll be a good way to get things rejuvenated there. And hopefully Irish Bill is in agreement with us there on that one. I think he will be.
He'll be there. Yep. Yeah, and that's another team. Leon 2-0.
That is you know what? That was one I should have brought up in the hot takes and I didn't. But Leon Lions, Jonathan Ferris brings up a good point here about Leon 2-0. I am stunned.
They had one win last year, I believe, right?
They had one win last year, so they've already doubled their win total.
Yeah, and not only that, they came here to Gainesville and shut out. Gainesville High is definitely in rebuilding mode. They were winless last year. Also, they forced 9 turnovers. Gainesville had 9 turnovers, but Leon comes over here, gets the win 21-0 at Citizens Field. Their defense shuts out the Hurricane. So, 2-0 to start. Congratulations. Great start for Leon. Yeah, it's been a little while. They have, as you said, they've kind of been struggling as a program. So, good start for them. And otherwise, Gainesville High having 0-2 to start. And then just, again, a big-time rebuilding project for Ian Scott at Gainesville High. I mean, again, they were 0-10 last year. Got a new coach starting 0-2. They really Gainesville doesn't really have the guys on offense. They don't really have a quarterback. But, again, Leon, the story, congratulations. And a team we don't always talk about from Tallahassee, but off to 2-0 start.
Yeah, absolutely. Update, Atlantic Coast is up 20 I got it right. This 20-13 on Ribault. 2:01 left to go.
Wow.
So
good game there. Ribault beat Sandalwood week 1, and Atlantic Coast, I believe, won their first game. I'm trying to remember who they beat, but both teams were 1-0 coming in. And that Tuesday night football game in Jacksonville. So good one there between Ribault and Atlantic Coast.
All right, some games coming up in the Big Bend region here that I think will be, really worth keeping an eye on, and I think, and of course, if you disagree with me, Marty, go ahead and shout disagreement on that one. But you know what, Mariana's 2-0. They're 2-0 in the season. They played Bluntstown, who has actually struggled. They barely just got by Rutherford this past week, and they got bounced heavily by Walton in week 1. So Mariana, Bluntstown, that'll be an interesting one right there here coming up here this week. And Another one that I think will be interesting, and this one just came on the schedule. This was not originally on the schedule here, but Florida High at Lecanto. That is a new one on the schedole. Florida High was supposed to play Taylor County this week. Oh. That game obviously is not happening because of all the damage to her Hurricane Idalia.
Idalia.
I'm having a tongue twister here.
It's like Vidalia, but without the V. Idalia, Georgia. Philip Crutchfield chimes in. He likes Crestview over Choctaw. Wow. And Jack Foster is that's the name of the stadium, I guess. Is a tough place to play.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Crestview is a better run game. Keep in mind, Philip Crutchfield is a Crestview graduate, but they're always pretty good. I'm not gonna say it's a homer pick, but I mean that'll be a good game. Again, Frank Beasley, we know him well at Choctaw, and that should be a really good game between Choctaw and Crestview this week.
Absolutely.
And another team, Irish Bill said another team he likes is the Walton Braves.
Yes, bring that one up here on the screen here. Walton Braves, and that's a really, really, a good one right there. Walton, I'm keeping an eye on them. Maybe they slip into the 2S rankings this week. We'll see what happens.
That's right. So we'll see as if they can get a win this week.
No, absolutely, and everything, and another game that I think it might be there's not really a lot of solid games this week in the Big Bend, but Bay at Gadsden County. That's one I'm interested in right there because Bay got trounced heavily by Mosley last week, 62-7. Gadsden County picking up the win 24-7 on Rickard. So I'm curious to see how Bay responds to the adversity against Gadsden County this week and going into the time zone change, playing an hour later, earlier with their game going into the Eastern time zone to play. We'll have to see what happens there. I think that'll be an interesting game there between Bay and Gadsden County here. And by the way, it is now final in Jacksonville. It is Atlantic Coast 20, Ribault 13. That'll be a final score there for you.
So good win for the Atlantic Coast Stingrays.
Who are now 2-0.
They are 2-0. That's right.
And they were 0-10 last year, by the way. Step Durham, first year as the head coach they spent last year at Wilson, got him to 5-5. Already 2-0 for Atlantic Coast. So hats off to him.
He's an Atlantic Coast grad, yeah. So he goes back to his. It's weird to think that Atlantic Coast already has some of their graduates coming back to coach because the program's only been around like not even 10 years, but the school at least.
They opened in 2010.
Yeah, a little bit over 10 years. Then at Oak Leaf too, right? Oak Leaf had some success. Atlantic Coast, though, if you remember, didn't even make the postseason until about, I think, 2 years ago. And then they made a run to the third round that year. But, yeah, by the way, Atlantic Coast, you mentioned they are 2-0. And their first week, they knocked off Terry Parker 14-6. So they beat Ribault. They got a game coming up with West Side next week. So, a chance to go 3-0 there for Atlantic Coast. They'll be favored to beat West Side in that game. And in Jacksonville. Meanwhile, Riverside, the Generals are off to a 2-0 start again. It seems like we don't talk about formerly Robert E. Lee. We don't talk about them a lot, but that's a team in Jacksonville that's always pretty quality.
No,
even after O.J. Small stepped down a couple years ago as the head coach.
No, absolutely. So by the way, this is brought to you by the Florida Blitz. Brought to you by Philip Crutchfield with Raymond James Associates. No two of us are exactly alike. That's why you need a financial advisor with the freedom to focus on the details that make your life your own, your family, the challenges you face. The dreams your goals, you need an advisor who can create a plan uniquely tailored to you, all backed by the sophisticated resources of Raymond James. That is life well planned. To learn more, call financial advisor Philip Crutchfield at 352-642-8330. Raymond James and Associates, INC, member, New York Stock Exchange, SIPC. So appreciate Philip for everything he has done here. And, and we go into North Central Florida here, and I think we've got some slight matches. We mentioned one game earlier that will definitely be worth watching is Eastside Buchholz, a city rivalry here in Gainesville. Like you said last year, that game got called off because of weather and didn't get made up or anything, so there was no declared city champion, which is sometimes a big. It's about a matter of pride here in Gainesville between Buchholz, Eastside, and Gainesville.
I can tell you, Gainesville High was not going to be the city champs last year. But Eastside or Buchholz could have been going to in that game. But yeah, GHS was not. But you're right. That's probably going to be for the city title again. Last year, and again, East Side is finally kind of at a point where I think they can compete with Buchholz. I mean, coming off a district title last year, second round, play the playoffs, they beat North Marion round 1. Gator Hoskins has really had that program turned around. 8-3 last year, and he's East Side grad, 2-0 to start this season. So, and I know Buchholz has been obviously a juggernaut lately, but we'll see. I like to see how East Side can hang in with Buchholz and maybe pull off a win. That game was 7-0 through the first quarter a year ago, so Eastside was in the ball game, and then the Storms came. But yeah, that'll be the game of the week probably here in the North Central Florida area in Marion County. Interesting matchup there. Dunellen and Vanguard, always a good game between the two. Dunellen, actually, their game last week was they had a bye, so they're 1-0, and Vanguard comes in 2-0. Vanguard, by the way, the first 2 weeks they beat a team from Colorado week 1. Erie, I thought it was Pennsylvania. It was Erie, Colorado. And then last week went to Lake Mineola and beat them on the road. So Vanguard hopped a 2-0 start. And though, like I said, get their Marion County rival Dunellen. That's always a good one this Friday night.
No, absolutely. Looking at some other games here that potentially are worth of interest here. I don't know yet if Swanee is going to play this week. We haven't found out, but Swanee's supposed to play Chiefland, so we'll find out if that game is actually on the docket. If anybody has an update on that one, then we'll figure it out there.
Looks like, as you said, Fort White's going to play. They'll be playing at Keystone Heights this week, so they'll be back in action. And Columbia making that trip to DeLand, so...
No, absolutely, and that's a game that will be more towards the Orlando North area, but that is a good one right there.
Yeah.
Columbia, they didn't get to play last week against Union County, and they got smothered by Buchholz there in week 1, and Columbia, Brian Allen's back coaching his alma mater, and of course Demetric Jackson, who was there for 2 years, took him to the state semifinal last year, went back to Fort White.
That's like the two of them there. The two of them just kind of keep sharing the Columbia job. They're both Columbia grads. They both played at Columbia, so yeah, it makes sense, but. Yeah, of course, one went to FSU, Brian Allen. The other went to Florida, Demetric Jackson. But yeah, meanwhile,
another one. Here's another game I've got for this area that I'm interested in. Land O'Lakes at Williston. Land O'Lakes is 2-0. Williston's 2-0. Somebody's going to have an L after Friday night.
And Williston, the game last week against First Coast was basically made on Thursday. I mean, First Coast was supposed to play Ocala Forest. Forest declined early in the week for the game. Williston, who were they? Weeki-Wachee. So both those games got called off, I think, Monday or Tuesday. And then I believe was it Thursday last week. That was the day you negotiated this a little bit. Williston and First Coast, I think Thursday decided to play, right?
Yeah.
And then they played the next day, and Williston went in and beat First Coast.
I didn't really negotiate that, but
you were part of kind of getting.
I just reposted, because Williston was looking for a game, First Coast was looking for a game, and sure enough, here they are.
It amazes me that they can put together games like the day before. I mean, because you could never do this at the college level or at the, NFL level. You can't just change the schedule, and they do it in high school. And we've seen it before with storms and COVID and everything.
Right.
They'll do it the day before. And for Williston, it was, they went and beat First Coast is a 3M team. I mean, there were a few classifications up. And
that was a really high scoring game.
50, I think it was 53-36 or something.
Yeah, it was like that.
Yeah, but Williston's legit. I mean, you're right. They're playing Land O'Lakes. That'll be a big game. The other game I saw another game I wanted to talk about in the area, and now I'm totally.
Oh, let's go.
There it is. Yeah, there's the list. Well, Trinity Catholic. I mean, after losing week 1, they go home to play Gainesville, so somebody's got to get a win.
Somebody does have to get a W. Dunellen and Vanguard. That's another one.
That's what I said earlier. Yeah. Dunellen and Vanguard. That'll be a booster, and Dunellen has beaten Vanguard pretty recently in that series, so that'll be the battle there of Marion County two of the better teams in Marion County, along with Trinity Catholic. Hawthorne, on the other hand, it's Terry Parker.
Actually, I got one right here. Union County at Walton.
Oh, yeah. Speaking, you were talking about the Walton Braves. And, yeah, I'm talking to Andrew Thomas in July at Media Day. He was concerned about this time of the year because they were going to have to go to Columbia and then go to Walton. Well, the Columbia game didn't happen. So they basically had a week off. And now they'll take that long trip to Walton to play the Walton Braves. So, yeah, that'll be an interesting ball game. Between those two. And of course, the last time Union County went to the Panhandle was the state semis last year, and they lost to Northview. So they'll get another shot going over there this week.
All right, so let's do this here. We're going to go into Northeast Florida, which is Jacksonville here, and we're gonna pull this up here. and everything. But here, there's 7 games involved in the Border War games. That's there at Glenn County Stadium, which is up at
7 games.
Yes,
Wow.
7 games.
And it starts Thursday, and I think they play Thursday afternoon. There's a game. Saturday afternoon.
There's 2 games Thursday, 2 games Friday, 3 games Saturday. Let's start with some of the games here that we got here. Baker County versus Glen Academy Terrors. So, and that'll be that actually will be a 7:30 kick on Thursday night. So Baker County versus Glen Academy. That's one of the first games. Bowls versus Coffee, 7:30 on Friday night.
Yeah, 7:30 Friday. That's right. They got the primetime game there on Friday, basically. And Coffee County was wasn't that else where Robbie Pruitt was coaching
Yes,
before he came back to Williston. He was there quite a long period of time. So, yeah, that's something that'll be a good matchup. And Bowls 0-2, they need to find a win there against a 2-0 Coffee team.
No, absolutely. How about this one? Here's another one. Creekside versus Richmond Hill. That's another one. That's a 4:00 on Saturday.
Creekside, yeah. And Creekside, well, they dropped the game week 1. Wasn't Palm Beach Central beat them?
Yeah, it was a shootout.
It was a shootout. And Palm Beach Central was a state semifinals last year. And then last week, Creekside pounded their rival Nice on the road. So, yeah, I think it's a good Creekside team. Richmond Hill, don't know a lot about them because they don't follow Georgia, but I know that that's the 4 o'clock game on Friday. Is that right? Or is that on Saturday?
It's
okay.
It's a 4:00 game on Saturday.
Yeah.
So then here we go. We got more here. We're coming up on here. McIntosh, West Nassau versus McIntosh Academy.
McIntosh, yeah.
1 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah, West Nassau, kind of a strange beginning. They lose week 1 to North Florida Educational in Jacksonville, which surprises. I'm surprised about that. And then come back last week and beat Charlton County, which is usually a pretty good Georgia team. And now they get another Georgia team in McIntosh. So we'll see if West Nassau can go to 2-1. Their new head coach, you said his name earlier and it escapes
Gunnar
me.
Cox.
Gunnar, yeah, I got to remember that name. Gunnar Cox. Not to be confused with the Clemson kicker last night who missed 2 field goals. Robert Gunn III, Gunn. But anyway, West Nassau, excuse me. We'll see if they can. They'll come back after kind of a rough year in 2022.
Of course, Madison County is playing Fitzgerald. That's another one of those.
That'll be big, yeah.
And then St. Augustine will play Brunswick for the nightcap to wrap it all up on Saturday at 7:30. So they'll play the Brunswick Pirates there to wrap it up there.
Yeah, that'll be the marquee game, primetime game there. St. Augustine, 1 week win against Bowls. I don't know if they had a bye last week or their game was called off, but
who, Brunswick?
St. Augustine.
So St. Augustine was supposed to go down to Gibbs, but
that's right. They got called off because of St. Pete.
Yeah, because of some of the weather issues, so they called that one off. But looking at this here, I think that'll be an interesting slate of games right there. Between Florida and Georgia right there to week 3. So it's still early in the season. These games not necessarily a make or break for some teams, but hey, you go up in Georgia and get a win, come back home, that definitely can help you, in terms of when the FHA starts putting out power rankings. And we'll do some stuff here on FloydHSFootball.com once the FHA starts putting out playoff power rankings. We'll probably say week 5, week 6. That's probably somewhere around that neighborhood that we'll be talking about power rankings there. So we'll be getting that there. So
okay. Sounds good to me.
But here's some other games I'm kind of interested in here, for this week, because the games that I'm interested in here, but that might be good ones too. Is especially
University Christian is playing Charlton County this week.
Yes, that's another one. I meant that one. That's the one. That's the other one I was looking for. Yeah, Charlton County versus University Christian. That's another one right there, and that'll be 4:30 on Thursday.
Thursday afternoon. See, how different is that? That's just very weird. But again, when you're going to play 7 games in 3 days, well, it's like being at the state finals the way they used to be. Well, by the way, I think we were going to get into that subject earlier. You said we were. And we talked about Mainland Bartram Trail. That's going to be a classic, I think.
Mandarin Riverside, we got another one right there.
Ooh, and Mandarin off to a really good start, 2-0 with wins over Fletcher and Bowls, and they get 2-0 Riverside. That's always a good ball game, too. But the state finals for football this year have officially been announced, or we don't because we talked about this.
Let's do a side detour here real quick.
Yeah, because I do want to talk about this a little bit. I think it's an interesting...
Well, we don't know where the state... Well, okay. There's no official answer, but the unofficial answer is Bragg Stadium in Tallahassee for the state championship games.
Florida A&M Stadium.
Yeah, yes, that's it. On the campus of Florida A&M.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, I'm okay. I'm all right with that. I'm not. I have no problems about going to Bragg. Can you just make it official if this is the case?
Well, that's what I don't understand. I mean, it's September. I mean, you think you would have that done before the season starts, but yeah, that's an interesting take there. And I think, see, here's the thing I don't get, and I know that many years in Orlando that they had it, and I guess they don't want it at Camping World Stadium anymore. But oh, man, I feel like Orlando City Stadium makes so much sense to have it there if you're going to have it in Orlando. But they got a bid on it.
I'll take Bragg. It seats about
20,000. No, it's the right size. I agree.
It's 20,000. Seats about 20,000.
But I mean, I guarantee you that the South Florida folks are going to say too far. We don't want to go to Tallahassee. And yeah.
But word on the street, in my hearing, is that Dry Pink Stadium, Inner City Miami, the soccer team down there, they don't want it back.
Miami FC. Well, they've got Lionel Messi now. What else do they need? I mean, they don't need the high school football finals. They've got the best player in the world playing down there. But yeah, that's the
word on the street. I
haven't had a chance to get down there for the championships the last couple of years, but yeah, and again, you probably would hear the folks in the Panhandle say it's too far. Fort Lauderdale's too far.
Well, they said it last year was too far.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Years. Well, especially when you think about Pine Forest in 21 going down there. I mean, that was,
yeah, and think about it too. Chaminade Madonna had to go to Tallahassee and win their state title there. I mean, they had a trip coming in from Hollywood. It's a long trip for Florida. Like you said, it's a big state.
Champaign Catholic, and when they wanted before they closed up, they
Hialeah. Yeah, that's Miami-Dade County, and that's the thing. We just, unless we play it in Orlando or Tampa every year, it's going to be far for somebody. I mean,
you can't make everybody happy. You can't please everybody.
And even Jacksonville would be that way. I mean, I've always thought that the Jaguars and Everbank Stadium now, as they call it, should give it a try. But they never have.
But that stadium's about to go under renovation here in the next.
Well, that's years, also true. And I know we saw Tropicana Field makes sense in St. Pete, but because it's
dome,
it's a dome. The way you don't have to worry about the weather at all. And then it's December. The baseball season's long over. You don't have anything else going on.
But I think the problem about Tropicana for some people is the sight lines and the seating.
That's true. It's not a great. It's a baseball stadium. I mean, it's not even really a good stadium for baseball. Let's be honest. The Rays are a really good franchise. They win a lot, but man, that is a rough ballpark to watch them play in. It's just dank and old and dark. And you're right.
The warehouse is Frank Jolly, our former colleague from the league.
It is. It's the warehouse. He's right. It's like a warehouse. It absolutely is. And I think that's part of the problem too. You're right. The sight lines, and it's just not a place you really kind of want to go to. But anyway, that's something that I guess we can talk about as the season goes on, because that won't happen until December. And Jonathan Ferris chimes in, what about having the state finals with Doak Campbell? They did in the COVID year of 2020.
But that was a one-off.
And I don't think that was originally the plan. I think that was, well, maybe Tallahassee got it, and originally they were going to have it Gene Cox, but that year they ended up at Doak Campbell Stadium.
And FSU graciously opened it up to the FSA and said, hey, you can play here to play the state championship games.
Yeah, all the games, you're right.
And
which, by the way,
that was 8 games, by the way. So
that we were there for that Hawthorne state title game, and it's Baker and Bowles play Cardinal Gibbons. That is the coldest football game.
It was some of the coldest weather.
It was in the 20s one night.
It was cold weather. It was blustery. It was foggy. It depended on what, I mean, I spent a good 6 days in Tallahassee.
It's always foggy in Tallahassee. When we go to those games, I mean, you remember the last 2 years, I remember going to see Hawthorne and the Saturday night game, and then we'd come back to Gainesville, and it's just, you can't even see in front of you. It's so foggy. Because that's what happens that time of year. But yeah, I don't know. So we'll see. I mean, that'll be something we can talk about, like I said, as the season goes on. Hopefully, as you said, the FHSA probably will make a actual decision on that coming up fairly soon.
Absolutely. Of course, we got Oviedo Lake Mary here coming up here. That's a game Orlando North that we've got some situation. By the way, real quick here. It would be 3 games. It would be 1 weekend, 3 games a day, so 9 games total. By the way, state championships.
Oh, right, 9. Yeah, so Okay.
9 classifications. Anyways, going back to everything, we were talking about some of the top games around the state, this week, the regions. We got I'll say it again. Oviedo and Lake Mary. Lake Mary, by the way, had that game a couple weeks ago, 76-60 over Dr. Phillips. That was they didn't even play football; they played basketball on the football field.
It's true. There was a 20-6 baseball game last night. We were talking about that. It was like a football score.
No, absolutely. A couple of other games I'm seeing stick out here that might be of interest. Mount Dora, Leesburg. Leesburg's off to a hot 2-0 start, so keep that one in mind. So it'd be interesting to see how the Leesburg Yellow Jackets do here coming up. And then looking at some, let's see. Trying to see if I've got another one here. Well, of course, with Columbia DeLand, that's going to be an interesting. That should be a bounce. See if it's going to be a bounce back for game for Columbia, or if we see if DeLand, gets to second win of the season. And of course, DeLand has Rick Darlington, his second year as head coach there. So that's going to be a tough one for Brian Allen's crew.
Rick Darlington, coming back to Central Florida after all those years at Apopka, and then he went to Alabama, coach for a while, right?
He went there for a couple of years.
Yeah, and then
he's coached up in Georgia.
Georgia, sorry, yeah.
Well, yeah, that too. I mean, he went to Alabama this time around. He had a stint. He had 2 stints at Apopka. He went to Apopka, went up to Valdosta, then came back to Apopka, and then left for Alabama. And now he's at the
went to Valdosta. That's right. And of course, I think Apopka won 2 state titles at least. So yeah, that quite a
They won 3 under his belt.
3, sorry.
2 in the second stint, 1 in the first.
Right. So obviously a lot of success with Apopka. And DeLand, is a program that it's been really good at times. It seems like I feel like it should be a little better than it is at points. But yeah, DeLand is a program kind of that can and has a lot of support, and with the right mix, I think it's got a chance to. DeLand has a real chance to go far this year. But yeah, we probably should start picking some games here, shouldn't we? If we're gonna.
Well, we're trying to find.
Oh, now you got some more. Yeah,
a few more games to look with some more thing. Looking at some of these other games here, and just you know what? Let me slide down to Miami-Dade County real quick. Let's slide down to South Florida, because there's definitely always good games always down there every week. Because it's South Florida football. They talk about South Florida being the dominant, but and of course. If you look at the rankings, you look at everything, South Florida teams are the ones that are dominating right now, and that's where it's been at for a while. Right. So, but and that's something we have seen over the years where what regions have dominated over the years. I mean, people go back, it was like in the 80s it was the Panhandle.
Yeah, that's true.
90s it was like Central Florida, Polk County, that stretch, especially Polk County. But here lately, it's been South Florida, and we cannot deny South Florida dominance right now. And
right.
But that dominance kind of got shrunk a little bit when the Metro Suburban came about. Instead of winning 7 of the 8 classes, it's now 4 of the 9.
Well, yeah, and they also put some of those teams together. So you're right; they can't all. You can't have Northwestern and Central and Carroll. Those teams all win state titles because they're in the same classification, so they'll knock each other off. Yeah, that has changed a little bit.
American Heritage sitting there, Cardinal
American
Gibbons sitting there.
Yeah, right.
And that's a big thing I question. Is like, can Miami Norland knock off Miami Central this year? That's always the big question there.
It could be. I mean, the Norland being Lakeland would seem to serve notice that Norland is ready to go,
and it has. And
yeah,
I think it is served notice in that case, and looking at a couple of games down there this week around Miami-Dade County here, and I think there's like I said, Miami Central, Booker T. Washington. That'll be a big one right there. Miami Norland versus Miami Southridge, 2 teams that are 2-0, but Norland, again, Norland's made that statement. Another game I'm really interested in is seeing how the result comes out is North Miami versus Miami Edison. North Miami went into a 3 overtime game against Lake Gibson and came out on the short end of the stick there, 29-26.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be a game to watch. Of course, we said earlier, Northwestern hosting Venice.
Yes,
and all those games are Travis Powell because Booker T. Washington Central will be at Travis Powell.
Yes, that is a Travis Powell game.
And Southridge and Norland as well?
That'll be at Southridge Stadium.
Southridge, sorry. Yeah.
So, yeah, Southridge, which is right next door to the campus there at Miami Southridge High School. But
yeah.
And then, of course, it's really interesting. And another one I'm interested in seeing how North Miami Beach responds to adversity. 0-2 already on the season, but they got Delray Beach Atlantic this week, so I'll be interested to see how that all unfolds here. But and in Broward County, of course, there was the one for Broward County, the one that Michael Parsons brought up earlier was about Chaminade Madonna and Virgin Catholic here. And now, of course, that's game Friday night, Virgin Catholic versus Chaminade Madonna. That's a big game right down there. Cardinal Gibbons at Dillard. Dillard lost to Naples this past week. Gibbons definitely sitting there, and Gibbons had a little some struggles there with Chaminade Madonna, only scoring 4 points on those safeties right there. And, of course, and then another game that'll be of interest right there down in South Florida. South Broward versus Piper. Both teams are 2-0, so it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. Both teams have been playing pretty well here to start the season, so we'll see what happens there, Marty.
Yeah, a lot of good games on that slate, as you would expect, and we'll definitely get into South Florida more as the season goes on. We're going to cover every part of the state, so I know we've done a lot of talking tonight about Northeast, North Central, and the Panhandle. We've had also some folks chime in to the Panhandle tonight, so it's good to hear that, and we like to hear some folks chime in from South Florida because we want to get that as well as Tampa Bay, as well as Fort Myers, Naples, we want to hear from the Treasure Coast. We want to hear from Southwest Florida. We want to hear from Orlando area. Yeah, right. So
here, all corners of the state. So let's talk to all corners of the state. Let's say, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about this, and we're going to just roll along here. But some interesting games I'm going to say here, interesting enough, is that Palm Beach Gardens is actually going to play, my understanding is play 2 games this week. They're going to make up their game with Vero Beach tomorrow night at 5 o'clock because they everything about Vero Beach is that Palm Beach Gardens, their team got infected with COVID severely, so they had to hold off. So they postponed to Wednesday. So they're going to play that, and I think they're going to turn around and play Dwyer on Saturday. They're going to play Dwyer actually on Friday. So 2 games in 3 days. That's a lot right there to ask for, but that's what sometimes that's what happens, especially when you've asked teams to play 3 games in a matter of 8 days because of hurricanes or thunderstorms.
Right, that's true, and it's good to see that they're getting some of these games in. I know we've seen in past years where some teams played after hurricanes. I remember the Irma year. You're right. There were teams playing on Monday, then they would play again on Friday, then they would play again the following Monday. I think Gainesville High did. They played 3 games in 8 days at one point because of the schedule missing like 2 weeks or so. So yeah, we'll see. And they need to get the games in. That's the thing. It's hard to, excuse me, not have not to play all the games now because of the rankings the way they come out.
No, absolutely, and of course, Southwest Florida. There's probably I'm gonna pull up Southwest Florida here because of course one of the big games we'll have is between the Space Coast and the Treasure Coast is the St. Thomas Aquinas and Cocoa game here. So let me get to Southwest Florida because sometimes Southwest Florida gets a little times untouched. But big one this week, Bishop Verot and Dunbar here. That'll be a big one right there. And of course, Evangelical Christian, Cardinal Mooney, both of those teams are off the 2-0 start, so those will be teams that we'll really keep an eye on. And then, of course, trying to keep let's see what else we got here. Immokalee had a won in overtime week 1 and just got beat heavily by Golden Gate here last week. So we'll see if they have a little bit of something to show Naples. But Naples has been on a tear here the first 2 weeks. Of course, beating Dillard this past week, and their running back is really lights out this year. So they already got 2 games in and over 400 some yards rushing. So got to give it up to Naples using that run game really good. And Lehigh-Lake Gibson. Lehigh's at Lake Gibson this week, and I'm kind of interested to see how Lehigh responds after basically forfeiting a game now to Bishop Verot. They cited medical reasons, and the proposed date was of September 25th was proposed, I believe, and Lehigh basically kind of declined it and ended up forfeiting the game to Bishop Verot, and Bishop Verot may have not Bishop Verot. Lehigh may have disqualified themselves for the playoffs by declining the makeup date. So, and then because the game
really, that's a rule.
Yeah, there's a rule, and I have to look up Alex Martin's tweet from the Naples Daily News and the Fort Myers News Press.
So, then why would they turn that down if they knew that? I mean, it's but
that's the thing. I think some teams are just they don't understand that rule, and that's
Probably.
it's not brought up to
And
them.
I have to admit, I don't really understand it either. I mean, I know why you're doing it because, in the past you had these teams that pulled out of a game like the week of, and that's, it's not really, you shouldn't do that. I mean, it's just a bad idea. And so, yeah, I think, I guess I can understand it, but I'm sure I could see where the schools don't get it. And that's why I say, here we are 3 years after the pandemic started, and we're still having these teams forfeit games or not play games because of COVID. It's interesting. I'm a little surprised. I know, we got new variants and everything, but just interested to see that we're still having this 3 years on. And at some point, I know COVID is starting to become the new normal and more so, but obviously the schools take it seriously, and, they don't want, with a team together like they are, if a few guys get it, everyone's going to get it.
No, absolutely, and everything like that. So let's take a look at I think it's time for some picks. I think.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so I'm gonna go off here the list here that I've got here, and I'm gonna go and we're gonna make some picks here. We're gonna roll with it here on the picks here. Let me go ahead and if it actually holds. There we go. Got it here. It's on the phone here, so that's why I'm trying to get it up. Mm-hmm. Okay, so. Virgin Catholic at Chaminade Madonna. That is the first one up here on the list, and Marty, I'm in my mind, Chaminade Madonna. They got beat last year. The only game they lost was in the Geico Bowl Championship Series games, and that's because that's a game that comes after the state championship game. So technically, they were undefeated all last season, won the state championship undefeated. And in Chaminade Madonna, they're on a roll right now. I'm liking these Lions. These Lions are they're the pick to win Class 1, and they've been the pick ever since they won the state title last year. It's like, well, they're next year's favorite anyways. Trinity Christian definitely is a team that's knocking on that door. But in this game, Virgin Catholic comes in 2-0. I want to stick with the team from Florida. Virgin may not have any jet lag because they're not switching time zones, but still to travel to Florida, on the airplane down to come down here and play Chaminade Madonna, that's a tough test.
Yeah, it is, and I'm going to go with the Florida team. I like Chaminade Madonna, and I know that obviously playing a team coming in like a nationally ranked team like that, it's going to be tough, but again, Chaminade, it's at Chaminade, right? They're playing it there.
Yes, it is there at Chaminade.
And I think that'll help them as well. And I think they're just that good. So I would go with Chaminade Madonna at home.
Absolutely. Okay, how about this one? We're going to go here and give me the thing, make sure that I'm giving you the correct location where this game is going to be at, and that's Cocoa at St. Thomas Aquinas. Coco's 2-0. St. Thomas Aquinas 1-1. They lost to St. John Bosco week 1. Obviously beat Fort Myers single-handedly this in week 2. I'm sitting here want to say this. My thought is this: it's home field advantage. Coco's really good. Could Cocoa go on? Could Cocoa be the one that puts St. Thomas Aquinas on upset alert? Sure, but I got to give St. Thomas a home field advantage here. And I like the Raiders just in it to buy a few points. It's not. I think this is going to be a close game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This another game to watch. We talked about Venice going to Northwestern. This is Cocoa Aquinas might be the second game of the week, or it might be even the top. So yeah, to me, I will take Aquinas as well. I think that they're being at home again will help. And Cocoa is really good. Don't get me wrong; they're just coming off a win over Venice. They're 2-0. They're defending state champs. But if there's any difference, I'd say Aquinas with a home field advantage wins against Cocoa.
No, absolutely. And let's go to their next game here on the list. How about this one? Sanford Seminole at Treasure Coast. Treasure Coast put up 66 last week on Tampa Jesuit. So my thought is this: that Sanford Seminole 2-0. Both teams are 2-0. Somebody's going to have to lose a game here. Treasure Coast is at home, so they're at South County Stadium, which is a shared stadium there in Port St. Lucie. Seminole's good, but Treasure Coast they didn't really turn the offense on in week 1. They turned it on in week 2, and I'm afraid that Seminole might be catching a wrath here from the Titans.
Yeah, as you said, Treasure Coast is, and I heard some of the folks that have chimed in tonight say that's a legit team, Treasure Coast, and close a year ago to making the state title game. And we know how good Seminole is, the Fighting Seminoles. I love it, the Seminoles, and but again, I'd go with Treasure Coast as well at home. I think that they'll get it done on their home field.
Okay. So our next one up is Venice at Miami Northwestern in Traspal Stadium. And, I got to say, they lost Miami Northwestern lost to Vero Beach week 1.
Mm-hmm.
They won big handedly last week. So, Miami Northwestern's 1-1. Venice is 0-2, obviously playing Armwood, who shocked them, playing a tough Cocoa team. Now you got to come into the hostile environment of Traspal Stadium. Could Venice be 0-3 after this one? My mind says yes, but I think my computer is going to tell me no.
I think so too, and I'm taking Venice because
you think Venice.
I think they go there and win because they're not going to go 0-3. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if
in a hostile environment, Marty. In a hostile
environment, yeah,
Especially since this is.
I know Traspal is definitely hostile, although if it would be more so if Northwestern and Central were playing. But yeah, I don't know. I like Venice. I know they're 0-2, but I feel like they're going to turn it around, and there's a reason they won a state title last year. I don't know. I'm going to probably get some people in South Florida irritated, but that's fine. I mean, I don't because you said they lost to Vero Beach week 1. Northwestern did. Who did they beat last?
Which was a penalty fest, by the way.
Who did they beat last week? Northwestern. They're 1-1.
Northwestern, I'm trying to pull it up here. Let me go real quick and tell you here because I will be able to pull that up here real quick and go to him here. But I'm going to tell you, I am going to go with Miami Northwestern. There's a reason why I'm going to go with this one.
That's
because
good.
I feel like in my mind, that game alone right there, there's just something there. I am not. There's just something there that I'm like the environment being hostile. Venice, struggling the past 2 weeks, to try to figure out how to, win. They couldn't figure. They couldn't figure out how to pull out the full 48 minutes. And this won't just be a stadium full of Miami Northwestern fans. There will be fans from Miami Central. There'll be fans from all over Miami because they're going to support their teams in Miami. And I have to go with the Bulls on this one because it's one of those games. I mean, and we'll see. But it was 63-0 Miami Northwestern over Miami Jackson. That was the final score. So,
okay.
And Miami Jackson they're on a downward trend again. So,
that is a tough one. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
That's tough.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with. Did they lose to Chaminade in the preseason 35-6 in the kickoff classic? Is that what I see?
Yes, it is.
Wow. Okay. How good is Chaminade? Yeah, I'll go with Venice. I'll take Venice a bit of an upset. And you're right. We'll see what the computer says because it may agree with that. It may agree with that against the Bulls of Northwestern.
All right. Here's our next one: Malin versus Malin and Barton Trail. I believe that is at. Let me make sure that Malin at Barton Trail.
Ooh, that's a tough one. We do our regional power poll, and Mainland is number 1, which covers basically northeast, north central Florida. Mainland is first. I think Bartram Trail is 4th. So, yeah, these are 2 of the top teams in this region and in the state. That's a tough one. Again, this is going to be, I think, a classic. I might side towards Bartram Trail at home because they beat Mainland last year on the road. But again, I'm not really sure if this Bartram Trail team is as good as they were.
I don't think so.
But I mean, for that reason, okay, you know what? I'm going to take Mainland. I'm with you on that. I'll change my mind because I think Mainland might be the best team in this area. I mean, so far, I think they are. So, yeah. I mean, in the area of North Florida.
No, absolutely, and I'll get Marty a round of applause there for that one.
Well, at least I got that, and not the losing horn,
or not like this.
Yeah, not that. I'd rather have the other one. That's true. Good that we have sound effects here.
Yes.
It's always necessary.
No, absolutely. No. So, okay. So, with that, I couldn't get him to sway his mind on the Venice Miami Northwestern, but I'm going to sway on me.
Yeah, that right.
All right, so here's the next one: Miami Central versus Booker T. Washington.
Oh yeah,
Miami Central coming off a 4-point loss to Bishop Gorman in a game that was rain delayed by thunderstorms in Las Vegas. I mean, thunderstorms in Las Vegas. Who would have thought that?
I know it never rains there, and not only did it rained like it does in Florida. I mean, torrential downpours. Yeah, I'm gonna go in this game with with Central. They're not gonna go 0-2. And although Booker T, obviously, they're always good. I'm going to go with the Central Rockets to go to 1.
All right, I'm with you. Miami Central. I just don't see it. Booker T's pretty good. They've got Ice Harris back. Ice Harris is back in the second year.
That's right, he is.
Coach, so, but Miami Central is just Miami Central, and I think they're going to be definitely fired up, especially after coming off that loss to Bishop Gorman. So There's that one. Thursday night game, Niceville hosting Lincoln. Niceville is going to be without their starting quarterback, but Lincoln went on the road this past week, won at pace 21-7. So Lincoln knows how to play in the Central Time Zone, no issue there. But it's one night earlier, one less day of rest, and Niceville's at home. And if as people know, in the atmosphere in Niceville, Florida, is a hostile environment.
Yeah, I like Lincoln. They're always pretty good, always a good program. But I think Niceville wins this at home. And you're right, they don't have their quarterback, but Niceville
Niceville
rarely
figures
lose.
out ways to win.
They very rarely lose at home. So yeah, I think I would take Niceville in that game. It's gonna be close though.
Absolutely. All right, the next one I've got Carrollwood Day at Calvary Christian in Clearwater, and Carrollwood Day 2-0. Calvary Christian just steamrolled St. John Paul II out of Tallahassee on Saturday. Two really good teams here.
I think Carroll Day's 1-0 because that first week one game against Madison.
1-0, but
that week.
My understanding, Bob Putnam did send me a direct message. Bob Putnam at Primetime Preps used to be at the Tampa Bay Times for years.
Right.
Did say to me that Carrollwood Madison was 17 seconds away from counting, just called before half. So I don't know if maybe it ends up turning into a win for Carrollwood Day at some point here, but at least to say Carrollwood Day 1-0. Calvary Christian 1-0. Both teams 1-0. I mean, I like Calvary Christian here, sitting here at home.
Really?
Yes.
I'm going to take Carrollwood. I think that they're a legit team. And, Calvary's good, obviously a pretty good team too. But I'll go with Carrollwood on the road to beat Calvary Christian. In Clearwater. In Clearwater, no less. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, Marty. So there's going to be at least 2 games that we have disagreed on somewhere here.
Right. That's right. You got to have a little bit of.
This is the fun of it.
You got to have a little bit of difference.
All right, Jones at Osceola. Jones at Kissimmee Osceola. Both teams are 0-2 coming into this matchup. Somebody's winning their first game, and somebody's going 0-3.
God, they're both 0-2. That's strange. And
both have played tough schedules to start. Okay.
Well, and for that reason, I think I would take Jones because they're coming off that game against Good Counsel, Our Lady of Good Counsel. I love that name, Maryland. But it's hard for me to see Osceola going 0-3. They're at home, but it's hard for me to see Jones being 0-3. This is a tough one because you're right. It's almost as if they need wins. These teams need wins. I will go with the home team there. I'll take Osceola to get their first win.
All right, so you're going to take Osceola. I'm taking Osceola.
Oh, all right.
And I'm just going to see something here.
Thought you might go with the Jones there.
Well, we're going to find out something here. I want to see something here. So this is what I want to know. Well, I mean, the computer's saying it's going to be a close game. I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it does. What's it saying?
Less than a touchdown. I'll say that.
Okay.
So I think that's where we're going with it.
All right.
I think honestly, it's looking at Jones by 6. I'll give you that one for free. Anything else, that's it. No, I'm not giving anything else
for free, no less. Yes.
That's an entire show to subscribe on that one. trust me, it's worth subscribing. It's worth subscribing to see this. This is a thing of beauty. This whole thing is a thing of beauty when I punch it in. So, well, that said, we're both going against the grain on the computer on this one. So,
oh yeah, that's true. Well, that's okay. I don't mind doing that every now and then.
Sometimes I did that when Joe Pinkas. I would go against Joe Pinkas and be right, and Joe Pinkas would be wrong. And
it happened, yeah. I mean, it happened from time to time. He wasn't always right. I mean, he was right at about 78%?
78 to 80%.
Yeah, to 80%, which
usually,
is really good.
First few weeks was kind of wonky because obviously,
right. That's right.
all the changes. But once you got later in the season, it was more spot on.
Right, absolutely. So,
right.
yeah, that's like I said, you're off to a pretty good start there. But that was your free play of the night. So we're gonna get maybe one every week. We'll give you one every week.
We'll give a free play every week. That way y'all see what.
So if you're playing the odds on high school football games, well, first of all,
you cannot do that.
You can't.
But this is more about who's going to have a margin of victory.
Right. So
the predicted outcome. It's predicting based upon statistical information. Obviously, margin of victory is a factor. What the type of schedule you're playing, how the opponents you have played so far have been doing through the season. So that's all a factor. It's all factored in there. So here's another one that a few people have mentioned tonight: Tampa Catholic versus Clearwater Central Catholic.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. So I was asked about that, and there's another Catholic battle there: Tampa Catholic and Clearwater Central. Clearwater Central, state runner-up a year ago, came in.
And that's a Tampa Catholic, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's true. I'll go with Clearwater Central there on the road. I think they would get a win against Tampa Catholic.
I'm going to go with you on that one, Marty.
Yeah, I like Clearwater Central. CCC.
And Coach Chris Harvey gets the most out of his players, but they've done really well here. They've first two weeks of the season, they've been came out. They had to battle back against Berkeley Prep to get the win there, but just totally turned the Catholic back on the bus to Ocala with when they got their W, 2-0, and Tampa Catholic 1-0 after beating True Prep out of Hialeah Gardens last week. So we'll see what happens, but I think CCC rolls to 3-0.
Yeah, like I said, I'm with you on that.
All right, we ran about 30 minutes past what we were going to do here, but that's okay. It's first show thing, but usually we'll be doing about 2 hours every Tuesday night, 8 to 10. But Irish Bill, one thing he said this here real quick to us. The great show tonight. Signing off for the night. Said that a little bit ago, but
I think he's gone now.
He's gone now, but we figured we share that.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
appreciate Irish Bill joining, and of course everybody else as well.
It's 9:30 in the panel, 10:30 here on the East Coast. I like saying that. So it's getting a little late, yeah. But we do appreciate Irish Bill. Also, Jonathan Ferris, who
a lot of people commenting tonight, so we appreciate it.
He was asking about Creekside. 99 points in their first two games. Yeah, they have been definitely offensively. They scored 53 against Nice last week in that win, and they get 46 in the lost week one. So yeah, he's right about that. But yeah, those are really picks. We're doing any more?
I just pulled 10 games for here.
Okay. Oh, we did 10? Wow. It seemed like it. Okay.
But, Jonathan Ferris said, great show. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for commenting and everything. But tonight, I want to say thank y'all for tuning in. If y'all are watching on YouTube, or, you haven't been following on YouTube, go on that YouTube and page, go to youtube.com/c/Florida HS Football, or just type in Florida HS Football in the search, and you'll be able to find our channel there. We would appreciate you go on there, click that subscribe button, because once you click that subscribe button, the more subscribers we can get on the YouTube channel and more people watching there and across, of course, other channels as well. We want to grow that, and we'll be able to grow this show here on FloridaHSFootball.com, and, of course, on all of our social media platforms. And, Marty, you got any final thoughts here tonight?
No, I'm just, like you said, a lot's been going on already 2 weeks into the season, and we had a week of a hurricane affecting us. Looking forward to a little bit of more a normal week, you'd think, this Thursday and Friday and Saturday with the games. Looking forward to week 3, and, we'll be back, make this, like you said, a regular weekly occurrence.
No, absolutely. And, of course, it'll be a lot of fun. And, Marty, good show here. I think we had a lot to talk about, and we got through a lot in 2.5 hours. But we're done, and we're going to sign it off. And we wish everybody a great week 3. Hope your teams win. And we'll see you on the flip side. Scores on Thursday, Friday night. Of course, on FloydHSFootball.com. Go on there to Scores Live, powered by ScoreStream. Appreciate ScoreStream always powering our scoreboards. Have been doing it for the last decade, now 10 years with ScoreStream. So definitely appreciate them being able to
be in Jacksonville on Friday, and I'll talk to you from there. And you can tune into Bishop Kenny on 92.5 FM in Jacksonville and 1010XL.com. You can hear our games this Friday at 7 against Tucoy Creek. So, but also definitely tune in to Josh. He will wrap up week 3 for you on Friday night.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Appreciate it. You can catch us here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter every Tuesday night, 8 to 10. And we'll see y'all here after week 3. And stay tuned for more stuff here on FloydHSFootball.com. Until then, so long.